live. Heading on, here we go. Is anything portraying? Okay, yes.
Oh, I hear.
Alright, so
I hear.
that should be fine. They're probably gonna hear the fan because the fan's a lot of shit. But at least we got the mics working a little better this time. We don't gotta worry about this one. What's up, guys? I don't know if anybody's even watching yet. Probably not. But yeah, there were some old videos about Rittenhouse that some Breadtubers did that we didn't go over. No, that would be funny for us to go over again. So, first one we are gonna do. It's noted racist, but Team Dukas on the background slideshow. The first one we were gonna do was Thought Slime.
Yeah.
There's that guy's foot. Let's switch over to that window if I got it. Yeah. Oh my god, look at his face. This. That fan is going hard. It's like,
This is my voice.
so yeah, we're gonna watch this dude and react to this. And he says Kyle Rittenhouse is not innocent, which is a funny statement because it seems like not innocent in what sense? It legally, because you know they did find him to be innocent legally, and then if
Yeah.
you're saying like morally, and it's like who's making the argument that he's
For moral.
like a little
Yeah.
angel or anything? You know what I'm saying? Like nobody's really making that argument. So it's kind of a funny straw man to just be like, he's innocent. He's not innocent. Like not innocent of what? Like be specific. He says not to be celebrated, but not everybody really celebrates Kyle Rittenhouse. But you can understand it from the standpoint of someone on the right who's been saying we need guns for self-defense
Yeah.
for decades, right? It's like the big thing, the main talking point for the pro-gun people on the right. And then a situation like this happened, which proves their point, you know, and if like Kyle Rittenhouse was there and everything went the same and he didn't have that gun, he wouldn't have been able to defend himself, right?
Yeah.
Like, and this
It
was the
would've gone
perfect
the other
situation to show, hey, look, this is why we're for carrying guns, because if someone attacks you, you should be able to defend yourself.
Yeah. Oh, could you share it in the?
Oh, yeah. That's what I forgot to do. Womp, womp. No, it's only me watching it by myself. Just kind of listen. Because I said so. Now the fan's gonna go even harder. I can hear them. Must be on your end. Oh, you can hear us? Good.
Oh, can you hear me? Okay. You
I
probably
can hear
can't
them,
hear.
just not the video. Can you not hear the video?
Oh, it was paused.
Oh, maybe. Hold on. Let's see. Yeah, they should be able to.
Right. They were playing before.
No, it's not playing through. Hold on, give me a second. Let's see. It's because I had a big update and it defaulted everything. So like,
Oh,
it's not on
I
my
think it's just
audio
my
device. Default.
my voice doesn't carry,
Your
and I have to
voice.
talk like a cartoon in order for it to
Yeah.
carry.
That's a very low voice. What are you gonna do? Let's see if this works. Do they hear it now? No. Why is that working? Ever since that update.
From Destiny.
That's it.
Or what
I
about
got it.
this tweet
That was
from
this one.
Destiny? I know. I'd
All
love
right,
to.
I'll start it from the beginning.
Okay, so I guess I have to explain to some people why Kyle Rittenhouse is not to be celebrated. I guess that's a thing I can't take for granted here in 2020.
But it is also a funny kind of straw man to say, like, oh, this is for the people who celebrated him. But what about the people who are saying he's totally innocent but aren't celebrating him? It's
Yeah.
just like, yeah, it was an incident of self-defense. It's plain as a day, and that's it. You know, like, I don't think he's a hero. I don't think he's a villain. You know, like, I think he's a kid who self-defended himself as any American would in that situation, right?
I'm sorry if my tone comes across a little frustrated in this video, because I know the overwhelming majority of my audience understands what I'm about to say. But enough people have been stinking up my Twitter feed with Rittenhouse apologia that I'm compelled to go
Rittenhouse
over this.
apologia.
Just look at this tweet from Destiny.
Now,
Well, what about this tweet from Destiny?
it's all like, well, Gaze
I know.
Within. Is
Gaze
that like an
Within.
old Destiny account?
I
Like,
guess so, yeah.
I didn't get it. Oh my god, look at this.
I'd love to do another silly video, have my little jokes and goofs, see what Grumbletum is up to, but no. We have to talk about the...
So he's tired of the Twitter apologia on his Twitter feed. And he says, just look at this post from Destiny or this one, and it's just one saying he's blocked.
Yeah.
Like, he could have gone incognito and grabbed those, but, and then on top of that, like, if that's what you're tired of, don't you think it'd be more than just Destiny making those arguments? If
Yeah.
you could show us
An
screen caps of
example of
other
something.
people, other accounts making these arguments, but he did it, right? Like,
Yeah.
he just went, oh, well, I can't see any arguments, so I'm going to move on. Like,
Yeah. But the arguments are there.
Pledge.
yeah, but the arguments were there. That's weird.
spree-killing coffee
What do you think of
spokesperson who half of my jokes and goofs see what Grumbletum is up to, but no.
I don't know.
We have to talk about the alleged spree-killing coffee spokesperson who half of my Twitter feed has decided is apparently innocent of any wrongdoing when he deliberately went to an act of protest with a
Well, going to an act of protest is not against the law. Innocent there.
semi-automatic weapon.
We determined during the trial that the weapon was not illegal. So there goes that. Now, still innocent, right?
That he had no legal right to hold, got into a
Still
fight
innocent.
and
He
shot...
got into a fight? Who did he get into a
Who
fight
did
with?
he get into a
And
fight
even if
with?
he did, you could get into a fight. He fled the fight whenever
Yeah.
when there was any danger, which is, again, innocent.
Yeah.
You know?
people killing too. And let me just state this right off the top. If Rittenhouse was anything but a white guy, we would not need to have
Bullshit.
this conversation.
This is
That's
what it is
not
bullshit
true.
because I guess he doesn't realize this, but Breonna Taylor, who they made a big fuss about, Kenneth Walker shot a cop that day. And the reason he didn't go to prison was because he pleaded self-defense.
Yeah.
They didn't even take it to court. They gave him the help self-defense because they couldn't prove that he knew the cops, that they were cops, right? So
Even the same day that Kyle was found not guilty, some Andrew Coffey something, he was found not guilty for using self-defense as well. So
yeah, multiple black people
like-
get self-defense all
yeah.
the time too. There's multiple people get it. Like, it's not a thing that, like, if this was a black guy, that all of a sudden it would be ruled completely different. We
Yeah.
have so much video showing that it was self-defense, which is what made this such obvious, clear-cut self-defense, because of the video. There was so much video.
yeah,
So, regardless of the race of the person or ethnicity, if they were an immigrant, whatever, it doesn't matter. We would have all looked at that and said, that's
the same
self-defense.
exact way. Yeah,
People don't bend themselves backwards to justify any other killers. Yes, he was...
What? Yeah, they do. All the time. Look at what is Kim Kardashian and the Innocence Project doing. They bend
Yeah,
over backwards to
trying
try
to-
to
yeah.
get killers out all the time.
just
And
making
justify
up
killers. They do it
bullshit.
constantly. How is he saying they don't bend over? Yeah, they do. On both sides, people bend over backwards, justifying killers all the time. And justifying deaths. People justify the deaths that happened during the George Floyd riots and stuff like
Yeah.
that. People that died during that, they justify it. It's, like a justified riot. Well, they shouldn't have been there or whatever.
just 17. But Brandon Bernard was only 18 in 1999 when he was sentenced to the death penalty for his role in a botched robbery based...
But that he
don't-
already showed something that was completely different from the Rittenhouse case. This guy was in the act of committing a crime. So he was committing armed robbery in a bank. And then that's already
yeah.
putting guilty, you're already there. Like, even if he wasn't the person who killed whoever was killed in that, that's still considered felony murder because,
Yeah.
because the person was murdered during the act of you committing a felony. And if you hadn't committed that felony, the person wouldn't have died, right?
based on shaky testimony that he may have been partially responsible for one person's death. His ex...
Well, if he was charged with felony murder, then he probably was in charge of that, but was to be charged with that person's death, yeah.
execution is scheduled for today.
Just like Ahmaud Arbery, right? Those people, all three of those guys didn't shoot Ahmaud Arbery, right? One guy shot him. The other guys are getting it on felony murder because they were in the middle of committing a felony by chasing him down, is
Right.
what the court said it was, right? So that's what they're getting charged with. Only one of them is getting charged with shooting him, right? So this
Yeah,
guy,
yeah.
I don't know the deep details of this, but I bet if we look into it, there's probably more details that explain why
Yeah.
he's completely different. from the Kyle Rittenhouse thing. He's just saying there's a black guy. He should.
And this is why, yeah.
Like, was this even self-defense? Are you claiming? Like, are you claiming that this guy went there to rob a bank and shot people in self-defense?
Yeah.
Is that what you're saying? Like,
And as of yet,
how
his
those
requests
are
for clemency
similar.
have been denied by the Trump administration, which
They-
is desperate
they
to
make
get
it
as
sound like
many
he just walked
executions
into the
done as
bank
he
and they
can
decided to
before
point the
anti-death
finger at him
penalty
and
President-elect
charge
Joe
him.
Biden takes over. The same Trump administration that's publicly
But
defending
he probably should be
Rittenhouse before the
executed.
investigation into his killings is even
Part of a
complete.
murder.
Cool. Rittenhouse, meanwhile, is taking sponsorship deals while the
Which
blood of
this is a lie
That's
too.
not a
right? 'Cause
sponsorship
this guy
deal.
could-
He
this
just
is
threw
weird
on
too.
a shirt because he didn't have a
We've been
clean
in quite a little
shirt.
shit fight the last couple days.
Which is weird because these guys literally say it had nothing to do with them, and he puts the clip here too of them
Yeah.
saying they have nothing to do with sponsoring. He just happens to be wearing the shirt.
social media. There's been a lot of misinformation, a lot of hearsay and speculation.
And he puts
thrown
that
out
in
there.
there,
Number
debunking his
one,
own
did we
argument.
sponsor Kyle
I don't
Rittenhouse?
understand that part.
The answer is no. The reason for that, the reason why I think
That's
it's
Elijah Schaefer saying it, not
Yeah.
Kyle Rittenhouse. Elijah Schaefer isn't even
That's
in this
coffee in
picture.
America. Yeah, where's
Yeah.
Elijah Schaefer?
So how is that connected to Kyle being sponsored by these guys? I think Elijah Schaefer was trying to put a connection between the
Yeah.
two. Like, hey, look, he's wearing black right.
and this store
is that
runs with
we're not in
it.
the
Yeah.
business
It thinks it's
of
true.
profiting from
And then
tragedy.
what does he do? Puts
We're not in the business.
Somebody explaining this isn't the case. Like,
yeah, and we're not
Yeah.
profiting from that. And it's Elijah Schaefer
Yeah.
who's profiting from that. He's putting his code in. So guess who gets the
That's
cut
what
of
it
that?
is.
Is
This guy does
Elijah,
this all the
right?
time.
Not
Like-
Kyle. Right? So this is weird that he's putting this as if it's some sort of gotcha, but it's actually just showing us how full of shit he is.
Yeah.
Why would you show us how full of shit you are? That makes no sense.
Profiting from this event. We have zero interest in collecting $1 from any of this. It is
If indeed we are meant to accept the premise that he was innocently acting in self-defense, as he claims, a normal person forced into a situation of having to kill 2 people in self-defense doesn't leverage that for
What?
brand appeal. Piece of PR advice, Kyle. You might
But
want to...
he didn't. When did he do that? What? He didn't even show him doing that. He showed Elijah Schaefer doing that.
Yeah.
And then he showed the Black Rifle coffee owner saying, we
Like,
don't have a connection to
connection,
Kyle
a
Rittenhouse
sponsorship connection.
beyond him
Yeah.
wearing a shirt of course.
Yeah.
You know, like that's it. That's the only connection
If
between
you
us.
wear Nike, you don't have a sponsorship deal with Nike.
Where does
You're
he
just
show that
wearing the-
Kyle was making
What?
money off of that? Like, how was Kyle making money?
wait a couple years before doing the crocodile-tiered talk show circuit. Even if he were innocent, which no reason...
But that's not even an admission of guilt either. Like, even if he did do that, what does that mean? He's found to be in it. He defended himself. He can go around and talk about it all he wants. Who
Yeah.
cares? What does that mean to how are you reverse engineering that to say that he should be in jail and guilty or he's evil because he's going around talking about how he defended himself? Like, huh?
reasonable person could conclude that he is, that would be ghoulish.
I would probably do that. You know what I'm saying? If I was him, and he doesn't have a lot of money, you know what I'm saying? Like, he's just a normal kid. Like, why not?
So let's go through a
Might as
loose
well make some
timeline
money.
of events here.
Take
August
advantage.
23rd, a white police officer shoots Jacob Blake, potentially
Mm-hmm.
paralyzing him for life. In
But remember, that it
Leaves
was
no detail.
I like
Explains
how-
no what led up to the shooting.
I like
Hello.
it just, yeah, I like how it just went straight to, police officer shot Jacob Blake and he ended up in a hospital. There's no, he was there against a restraining order against his ex-girlfriend and had her kids in his
In the
van,
car.
and that the ex-girlfriend called the cops because of this restraining order because he sexually assaulted her, and then they'll talk about how the cops wrestled with him and tried to take him down. He
And then
got
they
away,
put
and
the
then he
sorry
went to
ass
go
looking
reach for a
picture of
knife
the
in his
hospital.
car. That, mind you, the car where he went to go reach for the knife had the 2 kids that are not his, that are his ex-girlfriends in the back of that car.
Yeah.
You know, and he could have driven off with them in it, you know, but so.
And then puts like a pathetic looking picture of
But,
him in the
yeah.
hospital bed. Like, feel sorry for me.
But completely, it just goes straight to, cops shot him, he ended up in the hospital.
Yeah.
response, the Kenosha Black Lives Matter movement protests. You might remember that this...
Protests, but you have to remember that some of them were riots as well, not just protests. Protests is fine, but when it turns to riots, that's a different story. And this was on the 3rd day already, and the first 2 days had like riot stuff going on.
Yeah.
Like, you know, the city had been getting traction. So it's not like this came out of the blue and people were just protesting, and that's all that it was.
summer was kind of a flashpoint for protesting the murders of black men at the hands of the police. Because people were...
It's not murder. First off, Jacob Blake wasn't a murder. He already said that he was paralyzed.
Yeah.
He didn't die. And secondly, that was justified, and we all know it was justified,
Yeah.
right? Like, because he was reaching for a knife in a van with his ex-girlfriend's kids, who he has a restraining order on for sexually assaulting.
Yeah.
Right. So
Already mad about how the American government left black communities to die in the COVID-19 pandemic. So the
you mean how black communities are throwing parties, like in Compton, where they threw a block party when we had in the first week we had a lockdown,
Yeah.
and then these whole things were throwing parties. You mean we abandoned them to have block parties?
Yeah.
That's what they did. Like, how is that
direct
abandonment?
murders were kind of the straws that broke the camel's back
That wasn't a direct murder. That was a justified shooting of self-defense.
vis-a-vis the state killing black people.
And didn't kill him, by the way. Again, another time that he keeps saying killing
Killed.
black people, but
He
they
just said
didn't
he was
kill him,
paralyzed
and they
now,
justified
temporarily.
that because he was reaching for a knife after wrestling with them and them tasing him too, and he got past that.
Response, on August 25th, the leader of an anti-protest militia, the Kenosha Guard, former Kenosha alderman Kevin Mathewson, puts out a call on Facebook saying, "Any patriots willing to take up arms and defend Out City from the evil thugs?" Non-doubt, they are currently planning on the next part of the city to burn tonight. Matthewson.
Yeah, but that was happening. This was
Yeah.
after they already burnt a part of the city. That's why he said they're already planning to burn the next part of the city.
Yeah.
So they had already burnt the city. I like this because this guy doesn't even realize that this is an admission of guilt, that the protesters are evil thugs
Yeah.
and are burning down things by him posting this and saying, look, they're going to do this. So what he's upset about is that this guy is upset that the protesters turned to rioters,
Yeah.
burnt down a part of the city, and they're like, those guys are evil thugs, which they are. If you
Yeah.
burn down property and like parts of a city, you're an evil thug.
Right.
And he's mad that this guy's upset about it and calling his friends to come defend the city from these people who already burnt down a section of the city,
Yeah.
right? And are evil thugs. And he's saying, you see, this is an admission of guilt that you guys are evil thugs and want to
Yeah.
burn the city, and that this guy wants to round up people to defend the city.
It's
Like,
outrageous.
remember, you can't have one without the other. If you're admitting that these people want to come and defend their city, then you also have to admit that you're coming in to destroy the city.
Yeah.
You know,
Like those people going
and
to
that you're
defend
justifying
the
that.
city aren't there to instigate things.
Yeah.
They're trying to like prevent stuff like that from happening.
Mm-hmm.
And somehow we're supposed to look the opposite way at
Yeah.
this stuff. Like,
Yeah, sorry, but people don't want their cities burnt down. You
Yeah.
know what I'm saying? Too bad. Like, don't burn down cities then. If you don't want people to put out posts saying, let's go defend our cities, these evil thugs are burning down our cities. Don't burn down cities then. What do you
Yeah.
expect people to do?
it wasn't a
If the
peaceful
police don't
protest.
handle it, if the government doesn't handle it, what do you expect people to do but
Yeah.
fucking take care of it themselves? You know? What other explanation is there for you to expect from people?
Mason is currently being sued by the partner of Anthony Huber, one of the men
That's,
killed.
I want to know how that suit goes, because I feel like you can't win that. So that guy who said, hey, they're burning part of the city, let's go defend the city, is being sued by Anthony Huber's girlfriend? How is that?
How is that gonna?
I don't think that's,
Yeah.
I bet you that's been dropped at this point.
All
Because
of
I
those
can't
people-
imagine how you can make a connection to that.
All of those people went there with their own intention of being there.
Mhm.
Even the people that were shot from Kyle Rittenhouse defending himself, they went there with their own intentions. Like
Mm-hmm.
that posted and any type of post saying like, "Hey, let's maybe not because it's dangerous. It's getting dangerous out here." Wasn't deterring them from going. They knew like things were getting heated all over,
Mhm.
and they didn't leave once they saw things starting to riot. They kept going. So like,
Yeah.
I don't get how because like charging that guy posting that thing on Twitter is gonna
Yeah.
matter.
Well, they don't, because they think instantly evil if they're right wingers, right? So they're thinking, oh, that when they say evil thugs, they want to go there and kill black people. That's what it is. And it's like, no, that's not what he's saying. He's saying that people who are burning down a part of the city, we should go and stop them from burning down this other part of the city.
Yeah.
He literally says that in there,
Yeah.
right? He calls them evil thugs
Like-
because they already burnt down a part of the city. You know what I'm saying?
And you know what? I remember, didn't Devin post a video showing somebody talking about this? I wouldn't even remember who the person was, but he was saying like police were like there was a certain way like the police force was being looked at, and
Mhm.
not everywhere was police like presence available to make it to help people out.
No,
It's like
you have
they're like
limited
overpowered
police.
and like
Police have limited resources and supplies.
they're worried to go and help people out because of being looked at a certain way and stuff like that. Like, so yeah, like now people are having to defend their own property and stuff like that. Otherwise, everything's just going up in flames.
Yeah, well, what else are you gonna do? You just gonna sit there and let people destroy your entire city for what?
Yeah.
Because they're pissed off?
Yeah.
It's like, this is the thing I say, like, it's a weird thing to excuse because people are angry and people go, oh, yeah, but those people are angry, like, because of this and that, and they think this. How is that an excuse? Like, if I'm married and my wife cheats on me, that means I can go outside and randomly punch some dude in the face.
Yeah.
And when I go for assault charges, oh, Your Honor, my wife just broke up with me and I was angry,
Like, oh,
yeah,
that makes sense.
Yeah, like, huh? What does that mean? That doesn't mean you can go around and punch people in the
Yeah.
face. It doesn't make any sense. But it's the same thing they say with, oh God, I already forgot. I'll remember.
by Rittenhouse. Kenosha News reports. The suit uses Reconstruction-era federal law inspired by the rise of the Ku Klux Klan.
Oh my God. What does this have to do?
What does this have to do?
Oh, because of a lawsuit? This is from the lawyer, the
Oh.
opposite person's lawyer. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Which is ridiculous. The suit uses Reconstruction-era federal law inspired by the rise of the Ku Klux Klan in Wisconsin that bars people from conspiring for the purpose of dividing. Yeah, but what? Huh? Who did that, though? Most recently, the federal law was used in a lawsuit against organizers of Unite the Right, but there was no organized Unite the Right there. This wasn't a counter-protest. Kyle wasn't there for a counter-protest. I don't even think there was a counter-protest. Like, the people who were there were there to
just
defend the city, and they were just standing on the sides. If you remember, there's video of all the people with the guns defending places standing on the side, and the protesters marching through, and you hear them say, stay on the property, don't come out on the street, like basically telling them, you're defending property, don't defend the street, right?
Yeah.
So that you see that a lot. That showed there was no counter protest, and even the people waiting on the side agreed with that. They're like, yeah, we're defending property, and the crowd went through, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
No problem.
Yeah.
Bars people from conspiring
That suit is still making, but that's different when Charlottesville was actually a counter protest. There was two sides protesting.
for the purpose of
I can't see that
depriving
working
people
the same in
of
this
equal
instance. It
protection
doesn't
under
work
the
that way.
law.
And I don't know what any of
Most
this has to do
recently,
with
the federal law was used in a lawsuit against organizers of the Unite the Right rally in Charlottesville, Virginia in 2017. The Klan and the Unite the Right rally, that's some esteemed company, Kevin. The Kenosha lawsuit...
But what does that have to... What? So he made a connection between people over that? Like Unite the Right and then this...
I'm not.
yeah, I don't see the
get
connection.
The connection.
The Kenosha lawsuit alleges Mathewson and militia members conspired to deprive people of their constitutional rights with the help of Facebook. I don't see how. Through the Kenosha Guard's call for militia members to come to the city during protests. Yeah, but they didn't do any of that. Even if they did conspire, they didn't do any of it.
Yeah.
What part is them saying they were going to take away constitutional rights? They said they were going to defend the buildings from getting burnt down.
Yeah,
From the city
right.
from getting burnt down. I don't know if there's any other things they have for connection, but from what Thoughts Lime has shown, they haven't shown shit. He hasn't shown shit that shows any of this. To help the Facebook through Kenosha. Yeah, I don't know.
alleges Mathewson and militia members
But even still then, what does any of this have to do with Kyle? Like, what?
They weren't
Conspired
Was it because he
to
liked the
provide
Facebook post by this guy
Yeah.
or something? But he hasn't shown any
their
connection between this guy and
constitutional
Kyle.
rights with the help of
Besides,
Facebook
like,
through the
a
Kenosha
really
Guard's
thin
call for militia members
connection.
to come to the city during protests. The suit includes screenshots of comments on the Kenosha militia page.
I also have to say, just because there's a lawsuit doesn't mean that it's going to mean anything. It can get thrown out at any point. It can go through the trial and they go, no, none of this makes any sense. It doesn't work. Throw it,
like, I fully
And
plan to
nobody
kill
wins
looters and rioters tonight, and now it's time to switch to real bullets and use hollow points.
Yeah. Includes a screenshot of comments on a Kenosha. Yeah, but
They weren't from.
They expand on
yeah, what does that have
contact.
to do that?
Another commenter on the page states, armed and ready, shoot to kill tonight.
Yeah, what does that have to do with
Another
Yeah.
stated, leave a pile of them and burn the bodies.
But
You
none
know
of that
what?
happened.
Like,
them
people
But-
say dumb
But
But you know
things
what's
on the
funny is
internet.
none of that
And I'll
happened.
just
So if you're
leave it
alleging
to you
that that's what
to
they wanted to
work
do,
out who-
why did none of that happen?
Yeah.
You would think that if all of these were legitimate, that these people were making legitimate statements of what they were going to do, that you would see a whole lot more deaths that happen. But like that's it, you did it.
Why did Kyle only shoot the people attacking him and stop as soon as the people like let up from attacking him? Like, there's
And
like that on
even
that
if
video.
Kyle went there to kill people, he could have killed these people even sooner.
Yeah.
Like Rosenbaum, he didn't have to run away from, or he could have just taken a few steps back and shot him. Like he didn't have to run, warn him. There's a part he runs halfway through
Turns
running, he
around,
stops,
warns
turns
him.
around, and points the gun at him, basically warning him, like, I'm going to shoot you if you keep chasing me.
Yeah.
And then keeps running, and it almost looks like he thinks he's not being chased anymore because of that. And then when he
He
turns
like
around,
pops for a second.
yeah, like Rosenbaum's way closer than he thinks, and he's like, "Oh shit!" and starts running more until the gunshots go off, and that's when he turns around and shoots. When Rosenbaum's right there about to grab his gun.
Them is in that sentence. These social media posts from the Kenosha Guard are well publicized and get
these
national
have
attention
nothing
when they
to do with
appear
this.
on InfoWars. Mathewson has said in interviews after the shootings that he stands by his decision to put out a call for militia members. He has said he did not know
didn't know if
Rittenhouse,
Rittenhouse-
and he had not
Yes,
interacted
yeah,
with him that
yeah,
night.
I know Rittenhouse.
Facebook claimed there was no direct links between his accounts and the Kenosha Guard page. However, common sense and
common
likely
sense.
further discovery counsels that Rittenhouse would not have known about or traveled to Kenosha but for the call to arms
That's not
having
true
been
because Kyle was sleeping over at a friend's house. First off, his father lives in Kenosha. He frequents that area. He works there as well. He said that he saw like the devastation from like previous protests and that which turned to riots, and he kind of like he wanted to help his city. Like he's like, I'm not understanding how they're saying.
No,
like,
but none
oh,
of this
never would
matters
have
because
happened.
what he's reading is an article talking about a lawsuit that we don't even know if it was won or if it was thrown out of court. This means nothing. Obviously, the lawyer of the person who's suing the other person is gonna give you what they claim to be the thing. But why does that mean he's right? Like he's showing this as some sort of proof. This is just the lawyers,
Speculation.
what the lawyer's saying to sue somebody.
Yeah.
Like obviously they're gonna say this shit. That doesn't mean it's true. It doesn't mean it's right. Like this isn't a study or something. Like what? Like this means nothing. This is absolutely means nothing at all.
widely publicized, the lawsuit states.
It's even saying there's no connection whatsoever to Kyle Rittenhouse, this person. But it's just common sense that he saw it and went there. Why? Why is that common sense? When he has a lot of connections to Kenosha. Like why is that
Correlation
common
equals
sense?
causation?
That's
What?
not common sense. Common sense can go multiple ways, right? Like it just doesn't make sense.
So here's Rittenhouse, a supporter of the Blue Lives Matter movement,
Who cares if he's a Blue Lives Matter movement?
participated in police cadet
Again,
programs.
guilt by
Doesn't
association.
matter.
A guy
Probably
who
a volunteer
likes the
program,
police
'cause
and
he's in
probably
high school.
I like the police.
Like, why is that bad? I
Yeah,
don't
why is that
understand
bad
why
to
that's
like
looked
the
at as
police?
bad.
Or why does liking the police mean you're going somewhere to murder people? Like,
Yeah.
what does that mean?
probably wouldn't like if people protested the actions of the police.
Sure, but just because this is my statement, right? You are not allowed to attack someone and take away their self-defense. If you say, I want to go to this protest, I'm going to take this gun with me, I'm against those people protesting, I'm going to go there. That does take away my right to self-defend myself when I get there.
Yeah.
So them saying like, oh, he was against a protest, a Blue Lives Matter guy, and he went there. So
what?
all right, so let's say we have a right-wing protest now, and there's a guy who has ties to BLM, and he has ties to Antifa, and he goes there with a gun and gets chased by one of these right-wingers, and he shoots them. Does that mean that means now that guy should go to jail
guy's
then, right,
guilty
for
because
shooting the
he's,
guy who
like-
is chasing him? Like,
Yeah.
this is where these people don't understand how to reverse their arguments to understand how good they are. And it's funny because he does that later, right? And he says, you're going to tell me that if this was an Antifa guy, you would feel the same way. And it's like, no, it's you that doesn't
you
feel
that
the same
doesn't
way.
feel the same.
Because if it was an Antifa guy, you would say it was clearly self-defense. The
Yeah.
right-winger was chasing him. It was clearly self-defense, right?
Yeah.
He sees this and decides
It's
he
a
needs-
weird projection.
Yeah.
And it's like, you're the one who's got it.
They can't make
doing it
that
wrong.
comparison, but they'll try and say that if Kyle was black, that we wouldn't defend
Yeah,
him if he was
we
black.
totally would.
That's him, because he looks at it.
There was
That's
that
him.
outside the trial. There was that black father with his daughter, with his teenage daughter, and they were out there
They
with
literally
rifles,
said
and
they
it's
were
legal
there.
for her to carry it, just as it was legal for Kyle. Nobody said anything about them.
No.
They were like, they're fine with them walking around.
The thing-
And if somebody attacks that little girl, guess what? She gets to defend
Yeah.
herself. She doesn't have to lay down her gun and submit to the mob. She gets to shoot that person and
Yeah.
defend their life.
But
Yeah,
meanwhile,
against her life.
they said
And we agree with
themselves
that.
the thing that was supposed to be looked at as in a bad way, that they went there to protect the protesters. Kyle didn't go there to protect anybody. He went there with a firearm to protect himself if he needed to. But the thing that was supposed to be looked at in a negative way was protecting protesters, which is what that father and daughter said that
Yeah.
they went there for, to protect the anti-Kyle Rittenhouse.
They were
people.
defending
Like,
something. And then and all Kyle Rittenhouse did was put out a fire in a dumpster.
Yeah.
That's not a reason to attack him. How does that take away his self-defense?
Yeah.
Like, that's what these people don't realize. And if it was an Antifa guy, I would say the same shit. I'd be
Yeah.
like, yeah, it's self-defense. You know, shouldn't have chased him.
To join up with these
You're super stupid for chasing somebody who has a rifle in their hand. You're extremely
Yeah.
dumb, and you probably deserve what you get.
guys. These guys are on the level. So on August 25th, he meets up with Dominic Black, who either lends him an AR-15,
Which also, remember, that charge against him is getting dropped as well. The one where he buys the gun, and they were going to charge him with that.
Yeah.
And now it's starting to get dropped because they're seeing there's like really no legal problem with him
Ramification
buying
for
a gun.
that, yeah.
or buys one in his name. It's all a bit dodgy. It's that part
It's not dodgy.
Well, this was before the trial, so he
Yeah.
didn't know. The trial, we saw that it was
still being worked out. They decided to go to CarSource, a local business that has been targeted
This is
by
also something
protesters
that came out
and
in the
suffered
trial.
millions of dollars in damages from arson due to its proximity to the Kenosha courthouse. It's worth noting that N. Mal
That's a
Kindry, the
problem.
owner
Why
of
couldn't you?
CarSource,
Why wouldn't you want to be able to defend your other buildings then?
Yeah.
Your other businesses. It's
maintains
obvious.
that he did not ask for
like
or
insurance isn't
endorse
helping.
anyone coming to
That's
protect
pretty
his
good reason why
business.
you'd want people
According
protecting
to
your
the
property
Milwaukee-
now and the things on your property, because insurance is doing nothing for you.
Yeah. And then he said that this guy said he didn't ask anyone. Yeah, well, guess what? They did a trial, and they had to say that they asked the Dominic Black kid, and the Dominic Black kid asked Kyle to like help
To
him
help
out.
him
right?
out,
Like,
yeah.
Milwaukee
now
Journal
we know
Sentinel,
what happened.
the co-owner of CarSource, said Thursday he didn't hire the men, ask for their help, or endorse it. Why would I? Nal Kindry said in an interview
I'm
with
already
the
burned
Milwaukee
out. There's
Journal
nothing
Sentinel.
left to
I'm
protect,
already
which
burned
wasn't
out.
true. That was just one car source. They were protecting another one that hadn't been burned out yet. There was three of
There
them.
was nothing left to protect. Also worth noting that these guys who were there to uphold law and order were violating a curfew that police had ordered over the city that
But
night.
so were the other people. So what's the difference? The protesters were also violating the curfew. So that's, again, that cancels each other out.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Everybody there
It doesn't
was
take away
breaking
his
curfew.
self-defense, considering the other people were violating curfew too, and that
Yeah.
wouldn't take away their self-defense.
Back the blue, unless they tell you to do something you don't feel like you should have to do, in which case
But he wasn't there to back the blue. He was helping them out, but he wasn't there saying back the blue. He wasn't there with a protest or an advocacy. He was there to defend the car lot and to help people with, you know, medical attention and putting out fires and
Yeah.
stuff like that.
stick around and make the situation more dangerous.
And it was him
It was
putting
just-
out a fire that caused Rosenbaum to chase him and want to hurt him. you
Yeah,
know,
yeah.
Rittenhouse at some point meets up with a group
which he should not be allowed to do. So where is the self-defense lost there? You know,
of people,
That's what I'm
including
saying.
Ryan Balch. And just this
Again,
part,
guilt by association.
we're about to take a brief detour
He
from
knows this
tragedy
guy,
into
so-
comedy. See, Balch has a habit of posting support for far-right groups on Twitter and Facebook. The Southern Poverty Law Center reports, on Facebook and on Twitter, Balch referenced the far-right Boogaloo movement. I pause here to mention the Boogaloo movement are a far-right militia movement who believe a second civil war is imminent, hence the name. It's like Civil War II, Electric Boogaloo, because everything is like this now. Even our hate groups are irony poisoned. That's just the world, and it's exhausting. Balch retweeted white nationalist Richard Spencer and tweeted a link to a website
So,
hosted
but you know how many like hundreds of thousands of people tweet out fucking Richard Spencer shit and don't shoot people and kill people or don't want to go kill people?
Yeah.
Like this is not proof of anything, right? That anybody wanted to go kill anybody. Like
a
you're not
Nazi
proving
propaganda video cut
intention
with
of
Hitler
murder here.
speeches. Balch
In
also
any
used
way.
Twitter to troll Parkland mass shooting victims and a gun control supporting rabbi while using
what does that have to
esoteric
do with this
anti-Semitic slang.
instance? What does this have
Balch
to do with
confirmed to
this?
Hate Watch that he had operated these social media accounts.
Because he spoke to this one guy, you know, this guy had blah blah blah.
He used bad
That-
language.
none of
and
that
we
is
should
the
look
funny
at him
part.
as evil.
Well, I mean, for this same reason, then his buddy Lance, I would say is evil, because I have a stream where I see him communicating with Lauren Southern, and and then Lauren Southern's an evil, blah blah blah. You know what I'm saying? Like, so how does that connection mean anything?
To be clear,
Nothing there.
the funny part is that when Hate Watch asked Balch about this, he claimed that he was, get this, infiltrating the far right for some reason.
Cares about
His
this
evidence of
person?
this,
Like, why
an
is this
ableist
matter?
Nazi-mocking webpage
what?
on Facebook that there's no evidence he could provide he was in any way involved with. That's why he had to make fun of mass shooting victims and
Do you have any
harass a
proof Cal
rabbi.
even knew anything about
with
this guy? Knew
anti-Semitic
anything
slang
besides
or the memes.
besides like, hey,
Hate Watch asked
you know,
him why he
what's
used
up?
his
You know,
real
shaking
name in
hands
these
and that's it.
accounts.
Like,
And
he
Balch
spoke to him
claims
there that
it was
night, but
because
that
at the
doesn't mean they're, like,
time,
friends
Twitter
or
had a
anything.
policy
Yeah.
against using pseudonyms, which
or knows anything about
I don't think
it.
I have to tell you has never been true. And even if it were, how would
Even
Twitter
says he
know
used
whether or
pseudonyms.
not
So,
you're using your
I
real
don't know,
name?
Kyle
This
knows
is
who
simply
he is.
incredible. This absolute genius spent most of the day with Rittenhouse, but at some point they were separated before the shootings began.
But even if he spent most of the day with him, did he spend most of the day with him in what capacity? Like, they're friends? Were they part of the same group?
Yeah.
Just because they're in the same group doesn't mean they know each other and know everything about each other. You know what I'm saying?
He could even watch the trials to hear them explain how and how long they've known Kyle for. You know, and it seemed to be that same night. It didn't seem like it was like a long
seems-
friendship or anything.
It seems like a stretch to say it.
Yeah.
Which brings
This
us
is an older dude, so I don't think they have like a friendship where
friendship?
he knows
What?
everything about the guy.
neatly back to tragedy. Around 11:45 that night, Rittenhouse got into a verbal confrontation with 36-year-old protester Joseph Rosenbaum. Rosenbaum was incensed at Rittenhouse trying to put out a fire in a dumpster
there you
with
go.
a fire extinguisher.
There you go.
And potentially may also have confused him with a security guard
Okay.
he'd had some other conflict with earlier that night. This
Right.
confrontation
So everything he's saying is showing that Rosenbaum attacked him, right?
Yeah.
And had no right to attack.
escalated quickly. Rosenbaum threw something, probably a plastic bag. Rittenhouse begins to run until someone,
they
it's
know
unclear
it's
who,
him, is that-
but almost definitely a protester, fired a gun 2 times. It's unclear towards whom or why.
Everything he's explaining gives Kyle more and more
More
reason why he's
understanding,
allowed
yeah.
to shoot him.
Shortly after
And
this,
why
a
there's nothing wrong with him shooting.
protester named Joshua Zeminski fires a warning shot from a pistol.
Who, he doesn't make this connection, but Zeminski was with Rittenhouse. They were together, and they were both chasing Kyle. They both had to do with that confrontation with Kyle and his girlfriend. It was this guy's girlfriend, and Rosenbaum who were having the confrontation
Right.
with Kyle, and then Kyle ran off, and then Rosenbaum chased him.
Into the air. A profoundly foolish and dangerous act. Rittenhouse, presumably,
And not even Rosenbaum hid behind cars, and when Kyle passed him is when Rosenbaum came out to chase him, surprising Kyle, and Kyle had to run off.
he's being shot at, and maybe being shot at, I don't know, then turns towards the people pursuing him and aims his gun. Rosenbaum tries
And then he's
I don't
saying he
know,
doesn't
but
even
I
know
know
if
that
he
he's
was
there
being
for bad
shot at. So I know
reasons.
that he's not innocent, even though I do admit he may have been getting shot at, but I don't admit he's innocent. Like, what?
Like, why
Everything he
continue
said
on
here,
with this video?
The way he's explained it on his facts, the way he wants to portray the facts, say Kyle Rittenhouse is innocent.
to disarm Rittenhouse, who then opens fire, shooting him 4 times and fatally
Trying to
wounding
disarm
him.
him, yeah.
Rittenhouse runs away and can be heard on a call on his cell phone saying, "I just killed somebody." So at this point, protesters are yelling, "Go get that guy, beat him
Right?
up." Stuff.
Which now, remember what he's explaining right now is that these protesters started acting like vigilantes. They heard this guy got shot and they said, we're going to go above the law and capture this guy.
Yeah.
Even though he's on his way towards police and there's police everywhere, that we can be like, hey, this guy shot. They want to catch him before the police do, basically.
Right.
Like that, and an unidentified guy tries to hit Rittenhouse.
Right.
It knocks his hat off,
Right,
but
there goes
doesn't
the
make
attack.
contact.
The first
Vigilante.
Rittenhouse falls down and is approached by Anthony Huber.
Vigilante.
Huber strikes Rittenhouse with a skateboard
Vigilante
and attempts to
defends
disarm him
himself.
and is shot and killed.
Yep,
Gage
defends
Grosskreutz has
Gage
been
Gross-
pursuing,
another
and he has a
vigilante.
handgun
Vigilante
on
number
him.
2.
When Huber is killed, Grosskreutz puts his hands up. Rittenhouse fires anyway, taking out a big chunk of Grosskreuz's right bicep. At this
That's not exactly what happened. He put his hands up and then pointed the gun at him, and Kyle shot him as he was in the process of about to point his gun at him. Which, this was before the trial, but by the time the trial happened, we know is true because Grosskreutz himself admitted to pointing that Kyle did not shoot him in the arm until he pointed his gun at his head.
Right.
Full admission.
Yeah.
At this point, Rittenhouse gets up, puts his hands up, with his gun still strapped to his chest, and approaches a police car to
Yep.
hand himself in.
Right.
The police car, frustratingly, just keeps on driving, even while the protesters are shouting.
Not really. They tell him to go home. Is what they tell him. They don't just ignore him and keep
Yeah.
driving. They tell him to go home. The guy, he goes up to the cop and says something. The cop says, "Go home, go home."
And he said
So he said,
pepper
"Okay."
sprayed him, but didn't realize he was pepper sprayed because of all the commotion that had happened or whatever.
So he went home and
Until
went, and
arrested.
turned
But-
himself in after that. They always say the next day, or like sometimes they'll say 24 hours later. Not true. It was like an hour later because
Yeah,
it was already
it was
close
already
to
like
midnight,
midnight.
when he turned himself in.
And
It was
he-
a little after midnight, the next day.
He had tried to turn himself into Kenosha, but their station was like boarded up. It was inaccessible, so he went to do it at like. the
Rittenhouse
other
meets
station.
back up with Dominic Black, who drives him home, once again crossing state lines shortly after committing what is potentially a felony. The next day, Rittenhouse turns himself into police in Illinois. These are the events as they happen, to the best of my knowledge.
Yeah,
If I-
to the best of your knowledge, and everything you explain shows
so-
he's innocent in
Yeah.
this situation. Everything he said, and the only things he's tried to show where he wasn't innocent were these like flimsy connection to things he had from the beginning that shows barely any intent.
Yeah.
And even the intent it does show, none of that happened.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, remember the judge didn't want to hear the thing where he said he would shoot looters or something outside? But he didn't shoot any looters.
Yeah.
And that's why that was irrelevant to the case, because there was no point where he shot any looters. There wasn't any looters, like, for him
Yeah.
to shoot. You know what I'm saying? Like, that never happened.
Like all of this stuff is
So
what
how
they
is that
wish would be
relevant,
brought
you know?
up in trial, but it's not. It's like it's the same reason why you couldn't bring up any of the people who were shot, their past with past charges and stuff like that, because it's not relevant to like what they're going to trial for. It's
I've made some mistake along the way. I hope you'll understand that it wasn't out of some bad faith attempt to paint a narrative, but because there's a lot to research in this case. I'm not going to show any video footage because
Yeah, there's a lot to research. He did half-ass
Yeah.
research in
Like,
the trial.
barely
But you don't, like, wait and get more info. Or
I want to show footage of people being shot and killed on my YouTube channel, but these events were recorded by bystanders who covered it from multiple angles.
that sounds like
If
I
you
don't
think
want to
I'm
watch that video
misrepresenting-
because it's yucky. Like, but
Yeah.
that video shows a
Or
lot
lying.
of
But
what
yeah,
happened
if you
that
don't
day.
watch the
Like,
video, how can you say if it's self-defense or not? But as the way he heard it and the way he described it is all self-defense.
Yeah.
There's nothing he described that says that Calvin shouldn't be able to defend
in
himself
some way.
in this situation.
I invite you to do your own research. Rittenhouse's defenders, including his attorney, point to the fact that he was attacked by protesters and
Yes.
attempted to
Yeah.
flee.
Yes.
That he heard gunshots and believed he was under fire. He may in fact have been under fire. It's unclear,
unclear.
but not unreasonable to suggest that one or more of the 16 unidentified
I don't even
shots
think the gunfire matters. I think that the fact that he was chasing him and Kyle warned him by pointing the gun at him and then fled again,
Yeah.
and the guy kept chasing him, I think that warrants enough to think that he's going to attack. He's ready to risk his life to attack him,
Yeah.
which means he's going to kill him.
This guy
shots that
says,
went
I
off
don't know
during
if
this
this happened or not,
exchange.
but let me explain how this didn't happen.
Yeah.
Like,
was aimed in his direction. I'm not going to dispute any of that. I'll even grant you that Rittenhouse probably did think his life was in danger when he started shooting.
But-
So, self-defense. Not only did he think that, but also philosophically and morally, he should be defending himself there because there's no situation where any of these guys should be allowed to attack him where he's not allowed to defend
Yeah.
himself. Like that.
And I don't think Rittenhouse is the only person with
almost
blood on his hands that
non-existent.
night. I think Joshua Zaminsky and whoever fired the first shots have
Sure.
a lot to answer for as well.
And
You don't
experts should have to answer for being there with an illegal gun too. Like,
yeah,
Just
no
pull out
one's
a
going to
gun
mention
and
that,
it's-
though.
whenever
I haven't
mentions
heard
that,
hardly
Chris
anybody
isn't in
mention
trouble at all for the illegal gun that he was carrying as a felon. He's got a felony.
Yeah.
You can't have a weapon when you're a felon.
situation like that and fire warning shots. That's reckless and is, to say the least, a needless escalation of this conflict. If history began the second that Rittenhouse was confronted by Rosenbaum, the evidence would seem exculpatory. But when you place the events in context, they're a little harder to wave away as self-defense. This guy
No,
goes
not-
to join up with militia.
Not at all. All the context you put still shows me self-defense. It
Yeah.
was just as easy to wave away as self-defense because when you look at what happened, there is no situation where it would be okay for them to attack Kyle Rittenhouse. Like,
Yeah.
what's the situation? Unless Kyle Rittenhouse attacked them first. But in none of those cases, Kyle Rittenhouse attacked them first. In almost all of the situations, he was fleeing, you know? So there's almost no situation here that you could say, oh, Kyle
He
Rittenhouse
just acted like
didn't act, you know, that it's harder to say he acted in self-defense
Yeah.
because of something before that.
Right.
No, he was fleeing all these situations. Every duty he had of self-defense is there. You know what I'm saying?
Why
is that
even
have
say
deep
I don't know if
connections
this
to
is true or
far-right
not
hate
when you're going to
groups,
say this?
crosses state lines with an
Deep
elite
connection. He has deep. No, he has very thin, loose connections to these. He says he has deep connections to far-right hate groups, but that doesn't mean anything either, because there's tons of people with deep connections to far-right hate groups who don't kill anybody or ever attempt to kill anybody. That's not an admission of guilt or something, or show signs of
legally obtained semi-automatic weapon that he
which, again, not illegal, so he's wrong on that one. What
obtained
else he got?
specifically for this purpose, spends
But that didn't happen.
the majority of his day with an avowed member of the far-right Boogaloo
But
movement.
that doesn't mean anything, because just because he spent the majority of his day with them within a group doesn't mean he knows every single person in that group and what they're connected to, their affiliations and shit like that. That doesn't mean that.
Yeah.
Who sure posts in support of Hitler a lot for dubious reasons, ostensibly
But what
to
does that
protect
do
a
with
business
that?
whose owner did not want or ask for their help.
That's not true either. We discovered that's
Support
not true.
police in defiance of a curfew police had put in effect, sought out
But
a
everybody was in
Everybody
violation
was
of the
doing
curfew,
that, so,
including
like-
the protesters, whom they were defending property from and giving medical help to because they were violating the
Yeah.
curfew. So if originally the protesters hadn't been out there violating the curfew, nobody else
Nobody
would have
else
been
would.
there. Yeah.
Nothing would have.
Nobody
been
else would have
destroyed.
felt the duty to say, hey, we need to protect our city and our buildings and stuff.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
confrontation and killed 2 people, injuring a third. Then, after one half-hearted attempt at handing himself over to the police, crossed state lines again,
Oh my
turning
God,
himself in the
cross
next
state
day.
lines. Who
And I'm
got
not
Yeah,
a
cross
but
state
yeah, it's not
lines,
illegal
guys?
for him to cross state lines, so that's a useless. See, none of the things he said there shows innocence. I mean,
Yeah.
shows guilt at all. Like, all of those were self-defense, and were easily everything I could easily say. Like, nope, still get self-defense. Nope, he still gets self-defense. Even if all of these were true, he still gets self-defense.
Yeah.
Because why would you take away? Oh, you were protecting a building that nobody asked you to protect. You don't get self-defense now. Everybody can just come and beat you up and kill you, and you can't do nothing about it. That doesn't make any sense, right?
Like,
Oh, you have connection to this, a really loose connection to this hate group. Well, that means now anybody can attack you and beat you up.
Yeah.
And you can't defend yourself. Like, what?
you don't live in the state
Yeah.
that you're wanting to utilize self-defense.
You cross state
Sorry,
lines
you
to go to
lie
a
down and die.
protest. Well, you know, everybody can beat you up and can't do anything about it. Like, what? None of these work for that. Every single one thing that he said, I'm still like, nope. Self-defense,
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 self-defense.
self-defense.
Yeah.
Like, you're what?
Lawyer, I would never claim that I would.
I feel like people just don't know how self-defense
Yeah.
works. Like, it's almost extremely rare for you to have a situation where you're not defending yourself if someone's attacking you. You know, like,
Looking at how he's like psychoanalyzing
Mm-hmm.
the things said in this Facebook group, it seems like he wants to like charge people for a tweet that they make. Like,
Yeah.
It's just really weird.
yeah, it is weird.
Was, or that I could be. I'd never passed the LSATs. I mean, how arrogant would you have to be to think that you could just do something like that without years of study?
Well, you don't need years of study. This is common sense to say if someone's attacking you and you're fleeing, you're in the defense.
Yeah.
Every single time. How are you ever in the offense if you're fleeing the confrontation? You know, like how? It doesn't make any sense. And then he's running to turn himself into the police, and more people are chasing him and attacking him.
Yeah.
He's on the defense every single time.
I
It's
don't
as simple
think
as that. It's
that
common
Rittenhouse will be
sense.
found guilty of murder in court. I don't think the charges will stick, aside from maybe the possession
They
of an
shouldn't.
illegal firearms charge. That one
Which
seems
that
Which
did it
that was
because it
thrown out
wasn't
like
illegal.
one of the
Yeah.
first things thrown
Because
out.
it wasn't illegal. No, actually, the other side dropped that charge because they were like, yeah, it's not
This
going to go
has
through
been
because they
something-
had to prove something they knew they weren't going to be able to prove
Yeah.
for it to be illegal because they knew it was legal. And I knew it was legal from the beginning. So when we saw this video, I remember, I think I sent it to Sean because right after this happened, people were making that argument that the gun was illegal because he's 17. The guy was like, I don't think it's illegal under Wisconsin law, and he showed a law that says that he could carry the gun. You know, like at 17, the 16 and up can carry long rifles up to a certain size. You know, and it matches that. So in court, they were like, So are you ready to get a ruler and measure the size of the barrel so you can prove it's illegal? And they knew that if they measured it, that it was going to show it was legal. And they were like, "We'll just drop the charge," because they know they can't prove that it was an illegal gun. They know the size of the gun.
Pretty difficult to deny. The evidence against him is highly circumstantial. I don't think it's enough to win a court case, but it's evidence nonetheless.
It's evidence, but evidence isn't proof. You're showing evidence, but this evidence is very thin and doesn't really prove doesn't really lead to proof of what you want it to prove, you know. Again, the gun wasn't illegal, so even still, but even if the gun was illegal, the charge would be having that illegal gun, because you're not allowed to attack somebody who's holding an illegal gun and think that they can't defend themselves. That doesn't take away their defense.
Presumption of innocence until proven guilty does not apply in the court of public opinion. And I think it's a bit...
Sure, but then you're admitting that you're going by guilty until proven innocent, so you just automatically assume everyone's guilty all the time?
Insulting to the intelligence.
Because then I'm going to assume, if we're going by that, I'm assuming this guy's guilty of, like, lying about this and trying to make it seem like this kid doesn't get self-defense and wants it to be like, if ever you see somebody underage with a gun, that means you get to kill them. You know, like, basically, and they're not allowed to defend themselves with that gun.
Of anyone who hears this story to suggest that Rittenhouse was just in the wrong place at the wrong time.
Nobody's saying he's at the wrong place at the wrong time. He went there. Nobody's saying he did it. He just happened to show up there.
Yeah.
He went there. Most people say it was stupid for him to go there with a gun, but in a sense, you're allowed to defend your city. You know what I'm saying? Or fellow cities. I mean, back then, they didn't know that much of his connection to the city, but he actually has a huge connection to the city. Like, most of his family lives in that city, and he himself has lived in that city.
His friends there, there.
He brought a semi-automatic weapon into a dangerous situation and then shot it, killing people. One could imagine...
That makes that sound, if you didn't even see the video, which he doesn't want people to watch the video, he just sprayed, like...
This is all framing, though. Listen to how he frames it.
Right? Was just in the wrong place at the wrong time. He sought this out. He brought a semi-automatic weapon into a dangerous situation.
But so did the other people. The other people made the situation dangerous, and they were also people there who went there with guns illegally, who were there and knowing it was a dangerous situation. Like Grosskreutz, who had an illegal gun because he's a felon and not allowed to carry weapons, and he was there with a gun, right? Like,
and then shot it, killing people.
But then he shot it, killing people. But you're skipping the part. You should have. This is all the framing part. Now, right here, I could have done all the same things he said, but then I could have said, but then he was attacked, so he shot it, killing the people attacking him, right? And that makes a total world of difference, right? Because if you know he's being attacked, then you would say, oh, then he did it in self-defense. He didn't just go there, shoot people, and kill them, right? Like, he went there, people attacked him, so he shot them in self-defense.
Right.
Okay. Like, see how framing completely changes it?
One could imagine some happenstance where all of the far-right militias he just found himself working with were just coincidentally there, that he had no ideological common ground with the people.
Well, I mean, maybe not coincidentally there, but you would think that people with the common idea of protecting the city from protesters would end up having common politics, but in a range. So, I mean, just because you have a right-winger there, that also, you know, doesn't mean that this person is part of this group, more far-right group, but they still do have the common interest of guns and protecting and defending their cities. Right? So to say that, like, oh, there was a coincidence, not a coincidence, is there's a common theme between these people, right? Politically.
Stated intent was to provoke a violent confrontation, kill a bunch of people, and maybe if they were very, very lucky, start a second civil war. Through no fault.
What is all this, like,
But it's funny to say that because the second civil war didn't start, right? Nobody even tried to push it. Nobody even said, look, Kyle, he's a hero, we should go shoot more people. And it's funny because the only people saying that are these left-winger guys who always say, oh, this trial shows people that the right-wingers, that they can go out with guns and shoot protesters. Like, no, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. If anything, it says you can't attack people for having a gun at protests. You know what I'm saying? Which is a good thing. You shouldn't be able to attack people, you know? for just for the reason that they have a gun, you know, like for
fault
no
of his
good
own,
reason.
he just bumbled his way into a group of Nazis looking to shoot people. So eager
So
was
now they're
he
Nazis?
to protect a
Is what,
business
like-
that
But
neither...
he's saying they were looking to shoot people, but his evidence for them wanting to shoot people is very minor. It's like these little posts, random posts. He doesn't even know who's posting them.
Yeah.
They're like anonymous posts and shit. But he doesn't know that the actual people there have said that. And even if they did, none of them shot people. None of
Yeah,
them.
yeah.
You know, like that didn't happen. So for all you know, it's just people talking shit on the internet, which is a common thing, you know.
asked for...
Now, if he could say, look, this guy said he was going to this protest to shoot people, and besides Kyle Rittenhouse, this guy who said that shot people over here for no reason, he just randomly started shooting people. Then I'd be like, oh wait, maybe there's a connection. There's no connection like that. None of that happened.
No one else did this.
or approved of this protection. It's possible to imagine a situation where a peaceful kid brings an illegal semi-automatic firearm to a protest
didn't.
against a group he has pledged his support for.
But
You know what? Like, there are people out there that teach firearm safety to their kids. And there's nothing wrong with that.
nobody's saying it's difficult to imagine this kid would be innocent, but it's not that. But changing some of the things he's saying now doesn't make it not innocent. Even if he went there to shoot people, it doesn't mean he's not innocent. He's innocent of the people he did shoot, because he is. Morally, they attacked him.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Not to intimidate people or to commit violence, but simply out of an
But
Just
abundance...
because you go, man, and you carry a gun with you every time you go to the store, and you go, man, I can't wait for you know, and you're writing on Facebook, man, one day I want to catch a guy trying to rob the store so I can pull out my gun and blah blah, get into a shootout, and I'll fucking duck behind aisles and get him, blah blah, and get him, yeah. And then you go, and then they literally go to a store and somebody goes to
happened?
rob it, and they get into a shootout with them, and they defend themselves from that guy, and it's on camera that the robber chased him and tried to get him, and the guy defended himself. He still gets that self-defense,
Yeah,
even
that
if
doesn't
he
mean
was saying,
anything.
"Oh, I can't wait for it to happen." It's a fantasy of him.
He didn't
He still
orchestrate
gets that
all of this
self-defense.
happening. Like,
Yeah. It's not like that takes it away from him, and now that's like, I saw that guy on Facebook, so if I see him in a store, I'm gonna rob that place and kill that guy. So,
Yeah.
and then he can't get self-defense on that because he
And, like,
already wrote this on Facebook. Like, huh?
intimidation is like
Doesn't
just
make sense.
totally
Makes no
remove
sense.
the word intimidation, because nothing intimidated any of those people from trying to
No.
detain Kyle. His rifle.
No,
didn't
there was
stop
no
any of
reason
them
why
from
Rosenbaum
trying
should have
to-
chased him and
Yeah.
try to get his rifle
You'd
chasing
think
like that.
just that alone would have.
And after
deterred them
being
from
warned
doing
that he would shoot him, there was no reason for him to continue to chase him, but he
Yeah.
did. You know,
Yeah.
he was warned. Like, what are you supposed to do? What do they want Kyle to do at that point? Like, surrender to Rosenbaum? Is that
Yeah.
what they wanted him to do? But why? A guy who was telling other people, shoot me, N-word, and fucking, and told another guy, oh, if I catch you later, I'm gonna kill
gonna
you.
kill
Yeah,
you.
don't let me catch you later, I'll kill you.
What?
That's a guy that he should surrender to? Like,
Yeah.
I don't think that's right.
Ridiculous.
I think that's completely backwards.
abundance of caution for his own safety. So moved was he against the violence done by protesters against a small business to protest something as trivial as violence done against black human...
But who cares about any of that? All of that is completely irrelevant to
Yeah.
him being attacked. So because people are because you're there to protect the building that nobody asked you to protect, and people are there to protest for black people, that means you should allow yourself to get killed.
Yeah, like,
and if
I'm
you
not
defend yourself, that
understanding
means you're against the black people for some reason. What? Like, I don't understand that.
beings, that he couldn't help but be compelled to act to defuse the situation by adding more guns to the situation.
No, but he also added less fire to the situation. And he also added medical attention to the situation, right? So it's funny you only see it one way, but you admitted earlier that the whole thing started from him putting out a fire in a dumpster. So he was he's not the one who brought the violence in that situation. It was whoever lit that dumpster
They
is the
make
initiator.
They make it seem like Kyle got there that night those riots were breaking up.
Yeah.
He was there the whole day, like cleaning up garbage, graffiti.
Yeah, he was
all of that
cleaning up
stuff. He
earlier,
was
right?
there
Like-
from the morning,
Yeah.
it seemed like. I mean,
Hypothetically possible, I suppose, but is it credible? Is it likely?
Is it likely that he went there and defended himself? Yes, 100%. 100% likely. It's not only likely, it
You know
is what
he
it
even
is.
says that's
If you still want to give this
video
kid the
of him
benefit of the
saying
doubt
that.
after hearing all of
I
this,
don't know what benefit of the doubt is there to give him that he didn't want to go there and kill people. Even if he did, he's still innocent. People want to kill people all the time and don't do it. They're not good. It's like Minority Report shit. Like he wants to be guilty of like a thought crime or something because of what he thought, but his actions weren't anything evil.
let me ask you a question. It's a genuine question, and I'd like you to
this
really
is the
think
part
about
that
it.
he doesn't
But-
realize is backwards for him.
And remember, he said before, I don't know if this was true or not, if somebody, if you know, Rosenbaum was attacking him or not, and he was using self-defense. But he's explaining all of that away. It's like, why did he even have to add that in there? Because he thinks that Kyle acted with, like, malicious intentions.
Well, he thinks he's
The
like a
whole way
super
through,
genius who
like-
like set up this whole thing, and I'm
Yeah.
gonna get these guys to chase me and try to attack me so I can kill them. It was like a premeditated self-defense. Like, huh? No.
What?
No, he went to put out a fire, and somebody chased him about it because they didn't like that he put out the fire. They had every
If
right
you
to put
heard
out that
all
fire.
of the details of this story, but instead of being a militia member or Blue Lives
This
Matter,
is the part where I think it's backwards because
type
instead of this, he
Rittenhouse
says if it would
was
be Antifa or
or
BLM, right?
he was Muslim.
I would,
I
or
would
Muslim, which is
still-
weird. Why would Muslim be any different? I 100% would see this exactly the same. We have
Yeah.
video that shows everything, and there's no way, regardless of race or connection or politics, that that person would not be acting in self-defense.
Yeah.
Everyone's attacking him. If it was a left-winger and a right-winger guy was chasing him and he pointed the gun and he didn't stop chasing him and kept going, that's self-defense.
If it was a
This is where I would pose this to him. Would he, if it was an Antifa or Black Lives Matter person, would you be saying they don't deserve self-defense, that they
Yeah.
went there to cause trouble,
Yeah.
and that they deserve what they got? You know what I'm saying? Because that's basically what he's saying about Kyle. And you would say that person's not innocent?
Yeah.
I would say they
I
are.
would say they're innocent.
I would say
Like,
they are innocent.
I'm
I would be
not-
consistent on this. I don't think he would. I think he doesn't realize he's asking the audience, but I don't think he realized that him and his audience, his main
Wouldn't be
audience,
consistent
wouldn't
this
be
way.
consistent
Yeah.
on this. They would be completely opposite on this. If we had no idea about Rittenhouse and this happened in the opposite political way, they would be the ones being like, oh no. And I think right wingers would still be defending them because right wingers are about gun stuff and self-defense with guns and stuff like
Right,
this.
right.
That's why they liked this situation so much because it proves their point
Mm-hmm.
that a gun, you can use a gun to defend your life. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And they showed it, and it was the perfect example of that. You know?
Still give him the benefit of the doubt? Would you still approach this situation with the
Yes,
same
I
sense
would.
of neutrality?
I would.
Yes.
I 100%
Just think about
would.
that.
Yes.
Everybody know
I don't need to
I
think
don't need
about
to
it. I
think
know
about
I
it
would.
because
Yeah,
I
because
would.
don't have the political bias or team sports.
Oh
that
my
these
god.
people
Is
have.
he Canadian? That's the Toronto
Is it?
skyline.
I wouldn't doubt
Oh,
it.
for
I know you got Canadians, man. They're all weak. Let me go watch this guy's, which is pretty funny too.
Oh my god, this guy.
Now this one's
I
more
got
recent.
kind of lost with this one.
This one's more recent because this is from 3 weeks ago. So this is after the trial. So we watched the one from before the trial. Now we're gonna watch one after the trial, which is this one's funny because this guy will take this to insert things that have nothing to do with it, but it's just he has an advocacy for it. So he's gonna insert slavery for some reason in this. This
Yeah.
Kyle Rittenhouse event had nothing to do with slavery, but he's going to insert slavery into this. And then he's going to insert communism versus capitalism into this, which
Yeah.
has, again, nothing to do with this
Those
at
two
all.
parts make me feel.
And it's like,
huh?
yeah,
What?
and it's just like he's throwing it in there just to be like, I want to talk about this. It has nothing to do with it, but I just want to talk about this in every video.
Now to our continuing coverage of the trial of a young man indicted for murder after opening fire at a BLM protest.
So I didn't do anything
I like
wrong.
that. Even the media, I like how they're like for opening fire at a protest, not for shooting, or maybe
In self-defense.
Yeah, it could be a self-defense, but at least when you say open fire, it just sounds like you're shooting randomly,
Yeah.
right? Like it should say like for shooting, protesters or something like that.
It makes me think of the people on Twitter
Oh, for killing
describing
green,
how
too.
he did this. He just sprayed into
Yeah,
the
yeah,
crowd. Like,
opened
that
fire.
didn't happen.
Well, when Vosh
Why
and
did that
Destiny
happen?
had their debate, Vosh said that he was just randomly shooting into
Yeah.
the crowd, and Destiny was like, "What?" He
Where?
was like, "What video did you see?" And then remember, Vosh was asking his audience out because somebody put up the video. He's like, "What video did
What
you see
video
that he was shooting
did you see?
indiscriminately?" Like, there's not. He's like, the video shows him he's shooting only people who are attacking.
Yeah.
I defended myself.
He
I
did.
have done nothing wrong
That's not.
ever in my life.
Yeah, but who cares if he's done wrong things in his life? That
Yeah.
doesn't mean he's a murderer. Like, that doesn't mean it.
Know this, and I love you.
We the jury.
And it's funny how they put these clips in there like they mean something, but,
Yeah.
but like you on the surface, they're
They're
so
looking
surface
at
level.
this in a comical way when this is real life shit.
Yeah,
This
and
is
it's like,
real life
I
and you're
never did
hiding it.
anything wrong ever.
What?
But who cares if he did or didn't do anything wrong ever? Like, what does that have to do with this
Yeah.
situation?
I, the defendant, Kyle H.
You know
Rittenhouse,
what? You know
not
what?
guilty.
That's so irrelevant because the same day, Kyle knew this was a huge thing that he did, and he went and turned himself in. Somebody that says, I've never done anything wrong in my life, they're not walking to the police station to turn themselves in.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's just
Yeah, why?
so stupid to make that type of claim. I've never done anything wrong in my life.
No, he knows. He turned himself in
Yeah,
because he knew that.
because he felt fucked up from
shit.
that.
That white supremacist just got away with murder.
Well,
and
that's already slander off the bat. He's calling him a white supremacist.
Yeah.
He's not calling him like white, even the lighter terms of white nationalist or whatever. He's straight up calling Kyle Rittenhouse a white supremacist. That's slander. Like, I would, if I had like indiscriminate amounts of money, I would sue him just on
Yeah,
principle and
yeah.
be like, I'm gonna try to sue this or try to get this taken down. I would demand YouTube take this down and be like,
Yeah.
there's a guy
There's a guy.
who's making videos. I don't care if he's got 37,000 views. There's a guy out there just calling me a white supremacist
Yeah.
with zero proof. You know what I'm saying? Just
Making
zero proof of that.
absurd links to what actually happened that night.
Yeah.
For what?
like,
And then saying that he got away with murder. No, he didn't. He got self-defense because he defended himself
defended
from people attacking him.
everyone saw it happen.
Yes, everybody saw it happen, and the
Yeah.
vast majority of people who were honest people would say that it was self-defense. Only idiots and manipulative people who want to push a narrative would say that it's not, right?
Yeah.
Like, anybody who watches that saw that for everyone he shot was in self-defense.
Yeah.
It was while being attacked.
You know, Kelly, the story of how he got... Huh.
But instead, this guy just slanders him as being a white supremacist and saying that he got away with murder. But he,
Yeah.
you know, it's obvious that it was
This guy's
murder.
shirt is
Well,
opposite.
I guess I'll
It
just
should
make
be
a
no
video
context,
about it.
only
Hey, folks.
content.
Yeah.
It's Tristan here. Last
Tristan
month...
Johnson, who is a manipulator and liar. I'm just going to put that out
Yes,
there because
yeah.
if he can say Kyle Rittenhouse is a white supremacist with no evidence, I could say he's a liar,
Liar, manipulator.
manipulator for those, yeah,
Yeah.
and slander.
We saw something messed up. A white supremacist named Kyle Rittenhouse murdered
It was
two...
messed
Yeah,
up
again,
that
calls
night,
him a
but-
white supremacist again. Okay, but you're
He
a slanderer
openly
and a
fantasized
liar
about-
because you don't have any. Look at this.
If it were Kyle, why are you blocking out the name and the picture?
Well, this already doesn't show anything. This already is not part of what's going on. He says, well, first off, they're blacked out, so I don't know if that's a real Kyle Rittenhouse or where
Yeah.
he got this. I don't know where he got this from. But he says, counter protest. Now, I fully plan to kill looters and rioters tonight, not protesters, right? So that doesn't go into this. Say he didn't kill any looters. Are they saying that these people were looters and rioters? Then is he saying that? Because then those people were committing crimes,
Crimes, yeah.
and this happened under them committing crimes and being
Right.
they're being criminal, right? So that still gives him self-defense, right? Like, so what's the problem there? I have my suppressor on my AR. These fools.
Oh, this is all
He
from
didn't
the
even use
militia.
this. Yeah, and he didn't even use a suppressor, so that's not Kyle, or anything to do with this. And also says while exiting stores, gonna drop on them while make them drop their ill gains as they exit stores. None of that happened, so that's irrelevant.
Yeah.
Anyone committing arson should be shot on sight. That is probably true. I'm not against that. Don't commit arson.
Yeah.
Why would you commit arson? You know, if you're burning down someone's building, you probably deserve to be shot.
Yeah.
Sorry. It's about time. Now it's time to switch to real bullets and put a stop to these impetuous children rioting, not protesting,
Rioting, not
not protesting, rioting. Use hollow points to extract on contact. They need real bullets, and these people will think twice before doing this. Exactly. The point is to stop
To stop from
riots,
Yeah.
stop the destruction of their city.
Yeah.
I don't see a problem.
Committing...
Yeah.
Don't riot, and maybe don't burn down buildings, and then you don't have to worry about this. Nobody has to defend themselves if you don't attack anyone.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? That's the thing. If you don't burn down cities, nobody needs to defend the city, right? Nobody needs to defend a building that no one's attacking.
Right.
So don't attack buildings. Like,
Vigilante
it's really
justice.
simple.
He
And it's weird how they can only see one side of this and not the other side. But it's like, But the people starting this are the people burning down cities and the
Yeah.
people destroying buildings, not the
Something-
people defending those.
Yeah.
Those people wouldn't be there if there was no need to be there.
state lines with an assault rifle.
This is funny how that ties back to capitalism, because that's supply and demand, right? Like, if you're not making a demand, that supply isn't going to show up. Like, nobody's going to come defend a building if there's no attacks on
And
it.
use it to end 2 lives in Kenosha, Wisconsin.
Right, 2 lives who were attacking him, who could have not been killed if they did not attack him, right? If they weren't violent towards this person, they wouldn't die. This is where I say the responsibility is always, for some reason, being put on Kyle when the responsibility is on the other people.
Right.
And shouldn't be grabbing
Kyle
people's
did
guns,
everything
like-
he was responsible for doing. He fled situations. He de-escalated situations. Everything Kyle did was by the book.
Yeah.
You know, like defense. Like, every situation, he's fleeing. He waited for people to attack. He warned people. Like, he went to the police with his arms up. Everything he did was right.
Yeah.
You know, it's like he did nothing wrong. In fact, everything that went wrong was the fault of the people who were going after him.
Yeah.
Every single one.
I'm going to have to make a bit of a tweak.
And if you take any point of that and change it, people would survive. Like, if Rosenbaum didn't chase him, there would be no issue. None of that would have happened. Now, if Rosenbaum got him and they got shot, well, he shot one person, he starts leaving, he would have just gone to the police, nobody else would have been shot. But instead, these people chased him, trying to stop him, and then try to disarm him. They keep getting shot while he's on his way to the police. You know what I'm saying?
That's why he wasn't putting his firearm down where he wasn't with somebody that he trusted in order to keep an eye on it or hold it for him. Because he's responsible for that firearm.
And in no situation there do I see a responsibility for him to submit to these
To
people
the mob,
and take their beating or whatever they were going to do to him if they were to kill him or cause grievous harm. There's no situation there, nothing there that I see that was his responsibility. In fact, I see it to be the other people's responsibility to not attack him.
Exactly.
If you thought he shot somebody and you, instead of approaching him, follow him, make sure he goes to the police. You know, he's saying. There's actually video, and we saw it in the trial. I don't know if this guy watched it because this is after the trial, but there's a video of him in the trial where he tells Grosskreutz, he says, "Where you go? And you just shot somebody." And he says, "I'm going to the police."
And he says, okay.
Yeah, and he says, "Okay." And then they follow him, and that's when people start attacking him. And then, you know, the whole situation comes. So he already told the crowd he was going to the police. You know?
Police don't even attack a person that they're trying to apprehend from when they have a firearm on them. They don't gang up on the person. They try and detain the person in a safe manner, not the way that this mob of people tried to do it. Like,
yeah, but that's
just isn't
vigilantism.
happening.
Even if he did shoot that
And
guy,
we're supposed to see
it's
Kyle
not the
instead of
duty of the public to capture this dude who's about to turn himself into police. In fact, him stating that he's turning himself into police turned everyone who went after him into a vigilante.
Yeah.
Because now they're going above the law to stop him before he can get to the police and turn himself in.
Right.
And that gives him the expectation that he needs to defend his life. He's trying to turn himself into the police, and the mob's trying to capture him, knowing full well that he's trying to turn himself into the police.
Right.
Content in this video. You see Bob here. Say hi, Bob. Bob
here comes the straw man.
has always been in the room while I shoot my videos. But after this decision, he's now got legal protection to shoot people saying stuff he doesn't like.
But no, he doesn't. That trial doesn't say that.
Yeah.
That trial says that people aren't allowed to attack somebody. That's basically it. Especially if they have a gun on them, they're allowed to protect themselves and defend their lives from a person who's attacking them.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, that's what it says.
So I'll need to be.
And it says you don't have the right to attack me. All right, because of difference of opinion, you don't have the right to do it. That's what Kyle didn't attack anybody. Everybody attacked him. They were the ones who. It's funny how this opposite. It was them who were attacking someone because of political difference, because of a difference of opinion. Kyle was there to protect the city. They were there to protest something and destroy the city possibly and display their anger. They were the ones who attacked him, so they're attacking him because his political agenda is different from theirs.
Yeah.
And it wasn't Kyle who did that.
And just by his looks of holding the gun, being a white kid, he has to be on the not just on the right, but on the far right. He has to be a white supremacist, a white nationalist, and some militia group or something like that. Like all these evil things they're putting on this kid just based on his appearance alone. And then when you listen to Kyle, I don't think he falls into any of them.
No.
I don't think he falls into any of those
And
categories.
this is a thing that I say that I only ever hear lefties say this.
Yeah.
All the lefties are saying, "Oh, this trial leads to, says that people are allowed to shoot people at protests." It's like that's what the right wingers gonna get out of it. But meanwhile, you listen to any right winger or any like normal human being in the middle, and none of them say this. They all say, "No, this just means you're not allowed to attack a kid."
Yeah.
You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? That's all it means. You're not allowed to attack a kid. If you do attack a kid, that kid has a total right to defend his life. That's all
Yeah.
it says. Like, you're the only idiots who think this is telling anyone they're allowed to
Something
kill
else,
people because they have a difference of opinion.
Yeah.
Nobody thinks that. Nobody out there thinks that this trial said that, except for you idiots. You know?
Bit
Everybody
more-
else just thinks that you're not allowed to attack
my
children.
word.
That's it.
So, today, let's talk about the factors which led to Kyle Rittenhouse getting away with.
But again, he didn't get away with murder. I don't know why he doesn't say murder.
Yeah.
I'll say it. It doesn't mean he got away with murder. You mean why he gets to defend his life
Yeah.
from attackers.
Unaliving two people. But first, let's do something my colleague here.
But he's not even going to explain it. Everything he's going to explain is going to be have no connection to this, and in the end, will never say that he should be allowed to be attacked.
Possibly oppose capitalism. Once again,
What is
I'd like to thank the sponsors for this
Sponsorship is
video.
gonna get
Virginia
skipped.
needed a source of unpaid work.
Oh yeah.
So,
So somehow
story of
he's
Rittenhouse
taking
getting
this
away
to
with
slavery.
whoopsie doodling to protesters began in 1676. Hear me out. Bayou, Virginia needed a source of unpaid
And then
work.
again, remember, when it comes to gun rights and stuff like that, states have different laws. This didn't happen anywhere near Virginia. What
Yeah.
does
Yeah.
Virginia history have to do with Wisconsin history? You know what I'm saying? Like, they have different histories. They have gun laws, different gun laws that don't. Like, in fact, if this happened in Virginia, there might be a totally different law that says that Kyle was guilty of something. You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? Because gun laws are different in each state. And I'm fine with that.
So they'd find people who would work for free.
But I think, I don't know if we
Someone
should go through
paid
this
their
whole thing 'cause it's
passage
kind of
over.
long.
They even got some land after they paid off all their
But
debts.
he makes a connection as to why we have this gun culture, and it has to do with slaves. And he says, "Oh, because we used guns to chase down slaves and capture them." Our gun culture comes from us liberating ourselves from the British. Like, that's where it comes from. That's why we have the right to form militias, because it was militias that helped fight against the British for independence, and why we are allowed to have guns, because it was like farmers, not soldiers, that fought against the English and stuff like that.
This was a
So
sweet
it's
deal
weird.
for
It's a
plantation
connection
owners,
he's making that
as
doesn't
many
fit,
workers
you know?
died before their contract ended.
Wisconsin
As
didn't have
survival rates
plantations.
increased,
You know what I'm saying? Like, you're talking
more
about plantations.
Indentured
Wisconsin didn't
servants,
have
as they
plantations.
called them.
You can't grow
demanded
stuff like that in
land.
Wisconsin. It's
But
cold.
even in colonial times, the land already belonged to a small elite of plantation owners. The frustration
Right, a
of
small
these
elite,
unlanded
so not
workers
like most
bubbled
American
up
whites are.
into a rebellion. They demanded the colony take more indigenous land to
And
give
this is
them
even colonies. This is before America even existed. Like, America didn't even exist at this time.
them their promised acres. They lost, but
What is he
the
talking
resolution
about? Yeah,
of
before.
Bacon's rebellion
All
no,
this
Bacon
caused
was
some
in.
is,
reforms.
over my head.
Were slaves in every way.
What is
put
this?
at
Yeah, what
the-
is none of this
against
has to
them.
do
They
with
had
it.
a massive civil war rather than give up. And states' rights or something.
Okay. I'm for states' rights. So what?
The South wound up losing the war, but the half measures in Reconstruction caused
Again,
many freemen
The half
to
measures in the South, which Wisconsin is not a part of.
live close to where they lived as slaves,
In
of its
the-
own segregation too.
it's
They
Los
just
Angeles.
used
None of
less
these are
obvious
Wisconsin.
ways like redlining.
What does this have to
feel
do
righteous.
with
These laws
Wisconsin?
would let the slavery era dream
And 3
stay
white
alive.
guys who got shot
American
in Wisconsin
society,
attacking a kid.
All
What does
I'm-
this have
bloody
to do
struggle.
All
They
I'm
did
reading
manage
is
to
that
win
it's
legal
almost
equality.
like different
And
states
all
have
of the-
different states have different laws,
Yeah,
right?
but he went through a whole discussion of this, of slavery, just to put the backdrop of why there was a protest. But what is literally the protest has very little to do with this at all. Like the you can protest and Kyle wouldn't have been there. What happens is people were God, I'm getting caught in shit. People were destroying the city for days. What does that have to do with any of this?
Yeah.
Like, this has nothing to do with it.
those Jim Crow laws.
Jim Crow
This
laws,
was
which
a
didn't
great
exist
challenge to
in Wisconsin,
anyone in unfree
which was in the
labor.
South.
If they were prisoners. So
Right. Which
they
has
in
nothing to do with
prison,
any of this.
They'd get tons
Which has nothing to do with this, because there was 3 white people who were shot who had been to prison, but they had been to prison because they committed crimes, right? One was a pedophile, one was a wife beater, like
free labor. They could also
the other guy, Grosskreutz, is carrying a gun, but he was a felon for like armed robbery or something before it is passed. Like,
deprive a disproportionate number of black people their civil rights. Oh, and the ability to obtain gainful employment.
All right,
That's
but
more or
what does
less
this
how it
have
is
to
today.
do
So
with
what does that
this?
have to do with this guy?
Yeah,
the
there he
caste system needed enforcement. People who did that
Nothing.
committed what they call
Again.
vigilante justice. By vigilante justice, they mean terrorism. During the time of the S word, watchmen and bounty hunters hunted people trying to run away to freedom in Canada or the North. They professionalized with anti-strike enforcers to become the modern police force. After the Civil War, these patrols turned into creepy groups like the Ku Klux Klan.
now he's going into
They
KKK for
terrorize,
what? What does this
brutalize,
have to do with?
and execute them.
What does this have to do
Stuff
with?
them.
Comparing
America
the
has a
culture
long tradition of looking the other way at
It's not looking the other. Even this one wasn't even murder. He was self-defending himself. He was under attack. There was no proof. The reason he was found innocent was because there was 0 proof that he killed the kid out of maliciousness. That it was in the middle. That this guy had a busted face. The kid was beating him up.
murder in the name of maintaining the hierarchy.
But there's no hierarchy. He's a Spanish dude. He's like Hispanic. He's not even white. What hierarchy?
Now, we're starting
George
to
Zimmerman's
get
like a
why
Mexican
those
dude.
invested in keeping black people at the bottom see Rittenhouse as a hero.
I don't see him as a hero, but he did everything he was supposed to. He didn't do anything wrong. Like, what's wrong about defending a city, and what's wrong about defending yourself, your own life, when you're under attack? I don't
Saying Kyle
understand.
Rittenhouse got away with killing 2 people because of an ingrained idea that violence is okay, but only if it keeps black people in line.
No. He was found innocent because he didn't even kill black people. It had nothing to do with black people. He was found innocent because he was under attack when he shot those people. That's it. That's self-defense. He was on the defense. He fled from the situation and was still under attack. How do you not understand that? And he thinks that he was found innocent because of black people? What? It had nothing to do with black people. Except for it being a protest, it had nothing to do with black people. They were not involved in this. We don't even know if Cal even interacted with any black people the whole day. Like, we don't know that at all.
Wouldn't be the whole picture. Related, but nonetheless distinct from that
In what
is
way
the role
related?
of the
Not
gun.
related at all.
The gun's
Now the role of
been
the
there
gun.
from day one. It was there
The
to
gun is there
suppress
from day
the
one.
unfree migrant worker.
I like how he says this. It was there from day one. Blah blah blah. No, day one was us gaining independence from the British. That's day one of America and why we have guns, and was put into the Constitution right after to say right to bear arms and right to form a militia.
It was also there to make a continent of indigenous people empty for...
No, it was a tool used for that because the tool was there. But the reason it was there was because we gained liberation from the British. That's the reason it was there. Well, if this wasn't the reason, it wasn't like, hey guys, let's make guns illegal. No, wait, let's use it to kill Indians first. Like, nobody did that, right? So it wasn't there for that.
Yeah.
This is how this guy has a weird way of phrasing things, and now he's making it, oh, if you carry a gun, that means you're for slavery, because guns are there because of slavery, because it was used to capture black people. No, that's not why the gun was there in the first place. You're conflating what it was
Things that
used
are
for,
irrelevant,
That's like saying, I use a gun to kill frogs, and then you're like, oh, well, guns are made to kill frogs.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, it's made to kill a bunch of things. Like, just because I historically used it to kill frogs doesn't mean it's a frog
That was
killer.
what it was for.
And that's the main reason for
Yeah.
it, right? For its existence and legality in America.
The gun
Ridiculous.
is power. This is an excellent time to remind you that one of those post-Bacon's Rebellion laws...
The gun is power
a
too, but guess who
ban
has
on
guns a
black
lot
gun
too?
ownership.
Black people.
Today,
What, a ban on black gun ownership?
wildest
Today.
double standard in American gun talk is the difference between how Americans talk about white gun owners
Which, if we look at the statistics, we'll find that white gun owners are the majority of legal gun owners.
Yeah.
And if we look up who are the least legal gun owners, who own guns the most illegally, we would see that it's probably minorities. It would probably be in the same way that the crime stats get here.
and black gun owners.
Right, because black gun owners tend to have illegal guns, right? More often than white gun owners do.
Castile's girlfriend says he told the officer he had a licensed weapon and was reaching for his ID when he was shot and killed.
Rittenhouse's...
Right, but nobody talks about that differently as if it was illegal for him to have the gun.
Yeah.
What they say is he reached for something, the cop might have been a little extra jumpy or something, or the cop told him, the cop was telling him not to reach, whether he reached for an ID or not. He shouldn't have reached for anything. You know, you're in a situation now that the cop is telling you what to do. You should listen to the cop so that he's not in thinking you're going to attack him, right? Like, really, if you get pulled over and you have a gun on you, you should just put your hands on the roof of the car and leave it there and not move it and be like, can you, I would actually ask the officer to take the gun off me. And I'd be like, can you take the gun off me, officer?
Which is what
So
he
we
should
can
have
finish
waited
this
for.
interaction? Yeah. But instead, he reached for his wallet after the cop's telling him not to reach. You know, whether he was reaching for his wallet or not, we'll never know.
Lawyers argued self-defense for why he had to shoot two people. Many American states have permissive laws about killing people in self-defense.
Yeah, of course. Would you not be allowed? Are you not allowed to self-defend yourself? Is that what he's saying? That people shouldn't? Is he against people being able to defend themselves? I don't understand that.
Sounds like it.
I think if you're under attack, you should be able to defend yourself.
Right. Doesn't matter what color the person is before
always
you try to
get a
defend
much
them.
more sympathetic ear.
In 2012, Marissa Alexander was convicted of an assault charge from a 2010
Yeah,
incident.
he tries to pull this one off, but you know what happened in this one? It's completely different from Kyle Rittenhouse. This lady was abused by her husband. She ran out and came back with a gun. Does that not mean premeditated murder? Like, you're not allowed to leave a situation. It's like if Kyle was under attack by Rosenbaum, he fled, and Rosenbaum stopped attacking him, and Rosenbaum fled and then came back and shot him in the back of the head or something. That would be murder then.
Yeah.
But that's not what happened, right? Like, if she was in the middle of being attacked, yeah, but that's not what happened.
Or like,
And she even admits she left and came back and said, I was just trying to scare him. She says right there, look, Marissa Alexander was trying to scare off
her
abusive husband. You should have just left.
Yeah.
You left the situation. Go to the police.
this is why you can't shoot somebody running away from you either, which I think is why they had to make such a big deal of where one of the bullets or bullet wounds were on one of the people that Kyle had shot, because it was a back wound. And it's because those people were diving, trying to attack him, diving over to Kyle. But if those people were running away, like that one guy holding his hands up, and Kyle didn't shoot that person.
There were
and Kyle
people
did shoot-
backing away from Kyle after
Like-
he shot the dude with the skateboard. And there were people that backed off, and Kyle didn't shoot them.
Kyle didn't shoot those
If
people.
he did, that would be murder, you know, but he didn't. He was actually super disciplined with his gun and only shot people attacking him. Or that
in
he
which
was
she
in danger
fired a
from.
warning shot with a reportedly licensed gun at her abusive
A
husband.
warning shot that she left the abusive situation and then
comes
returned
back.
to specifically to do that.
I mean, people bought the line.
That's a different thing. That's not self-defense.
No.
She didn't happen to have the gun on her, and he came to attack her, and she defended her life with the gun.
Yeah.
That, I would say, is self-defense, but that's not what happened. She was abused. She left and came back with a gun
weapon. Yeah.
in order to attack him. Yeah.
that
And then she tried to use the excuse of, I just wanted to scare him with a warning shot that you hit him with?
Yeah.
Like, huh?
Rittenhouse went to Kenosha with an assault rifle.
He didn't go there. He was
medical
already
aid.
there.
Yeah, but so you're allowed to go there and with a rifle and give medical aid. That's
Yeah.
not something that's illegal.
Yeah.
You know, that's not something that says if you're carrying a rifle and giving people medical aid, that means that you're allowed to be attacked and you can't defend yourself.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Why every point these guys make, they should say, does this allow a person to be attacked?
Yeah.
You know, and you having a rifle and giving medical attention does not give you the right to be attacked.
Yeah.
You going there with that intention doesn't give you the right to be attacked.
I don't know.
So it's weird.
Maybe he's an animate or something.
I require healing.
No, but the truth is there were a lot of people there with rifles and med kits giving medical attention. He wasn't the only one.
Yeah.
They act as if he was the only one, and this is such a strange thing that this person would do that.
Yeah.
Tons of people were there with rifles and medical equipment.
The
Tons
gloves
of
on his
people.
hands. They were trying to speculate about the gloves on his hand. He's giving medical attention.
There's a video they showed of Rosenbaum earlier when he was arguing with a guy that was dressed a lot like Kyle, and they think that he might have confused that guy with Kyle
Yeah.
because they were dressed similarly. But when they show his side and then they show the other people's side, there's like 8 people there with rifles. You know what I'm saying? And the medical shit, first aid shit
yeah.
hanging off their side. So it's like, you know,
Why is it?
you're acting as if it's a weird thing and he's lying about it when tons of people were there doing that. That's exactly what was going on.
And the sting fires helpful bullets.
But why do people get this way? Why is an act of violent terrorism at a Black Lives Matter?
But that's not the violent terrorism. The only violent terrorism going on in that protest were the rioters destroying shit and the people attacking Kyle. What act of terrorism did Kyle do? Right?
Yeah.
What act of terrorism did he do? He's just said that Kyle went there and did an act of violent terrorism. What was that? What part of that does he consider violent terrorism? Because I didn't see any violent terrorism there at all.
BLM protest getting support from unexpected.
Oh, was he saying BLM protest was the violent terrorism?
But before he says terrorism, and then goes on to try and say the full term Black Lives Matter, and then gets all Bob might come for me if I say the word matter, and then says BLM. What?
I don't understand that
I don't
point
understand.
that he's making there.
To answer that, we're going to need to delve into the world of social psychology. Social psychologists believe that we justify our world to feel less uncomfortable about their place in it. They call this system justification theory.
Yeah, but this doesn't mean anything because we all look at it and see that he was under attack. We don't need to make a belief to justify this. In fact, this is the opposite. He's the one falling victim to system justifying beliefs because he's saying, I don't like this kid. I don't like his connections. I don't like his ideology. So therefore, he's allowed to be attacked and be killed by these people, and he's not allowed to defend himself.
Yeah.
He's the one putting the backwards justification on something because he doesn't like a person. Where meanwhile, we're just going by what we saw, and regardless of who Kyle was, he could have been whatever race, whatever political, we would have had zero bias and said the same thing. We see the video, he's under attack, he defended, each shot was a defense to an attack, or a danger, or a threat of danger. That's self-defense. That's it. And there's no. I don't need to justify that against against anyone else. It's obvious to me. It's obvious self-defense. The second I saw it, I was like, "Wow, this kid's amazing." Every single shot was while he was being attacked. Total self-defense. This guy sees it, and he has to do what creationists do with young Earth creationism and work backwards. I want the conclusion that the Earth is 60,000 years old and that's it. So now I have to fit everything I see into that. You know, no matter what, everything I see in the world, I have to fit into the 60,000 year thing. And that's it. And there's nothing else you could say that'll make me believe anything else. I have to backwards fit that shit into my brain, like fit a circle into a square that doesn't make sense. But that's what he has to do. He has to bend over backwards and do backwards gymnastics in order to say that he's guilty because of some ideology or some reason before going there, because the actual actions do not show that he was guilty.
He was guilty.
So he has to do this weird justification ideologically.
States, this is even if that system hurts others. Even if it hurts yourself.
But the system hurts others if you let them attack him. He gets hurt for nothing because he didn't attack them. He didn't initiate the violence. So why should they be allowed to commit violence on this kid?
Their well-being is
because he put out a fire? That means he should be what?
The status quo, they'll defend it relentlessly. Ever wonder
why? You should defend self-defense. I don't think people should be allowed to hurt other people, and everybody should submit to that.
How would self-defense work if self-defense was only applied to people who are living in that state? Like, you go on vacation somewhere and you're attacked, you can't defend yourself because you're not a
If I'm walking down the street randomly and see a dumpster on fire and I put it out, does that means a homeless guy standing next to it can beat me up now and I'm not allowed to defend myself? Like, why? Or maybe I do defend myself and you say it is until you look at my Facebook and you see that I'm anti-homeless people. You know? And then you're like, well, he's against homeless people, so that means that homeless guy shouldn't be allowed to beat him up. You know, like, huh? Like, none of that works. None of that makes any sense.
That black guy that killed that girl, Brianna Cooper.
No, Brianna Cooper.
Yeah, he has a laundry list of state lines that he's crossed. Like,
state
nope,
lines.
that doesn't matter though.
He commits crimes, jumps bail, and then leaves to another state.
Like,
why white people get so weirdly defensive when calling out racism? Acknowledging the existence of
But no, white people don't get offended when you call out racism. White people get upset that you call them a racist when they're not being racist. And that's the thing they're upset about. White people don't get upset. White people are the majority of the people who call out racism. Like, what are you talking about? White people don't get... Right, well, how white people get defensive when you call it racism? What? White people are the ones calling out racism themselves. What are you talking about? And most people don't get defensive about it. They get upset that you're saying they're racist when they're not. You know, when you're talking
racial
shit.
caste system.
People don't just randomly get upset. If you show a legitimate case of racism, most white people will be like, oh, okay, yeah, that's a case of racism. You know? The problem is everybody twists things into racism that's not. You know?
Sense of self-worth. It threatens their privileges, so defending it as just becomes essential.
There was no privilege that was being threatened in this situation at all. Like, there was none. In fact, it's the other way around. The privilege that was being threatened was their privilege to not be attacked. It was Cal's privilege to be there without being attacked by a mob. That was the privilege that was being taken away, which is a privilege I think everyone should be afforded, regardless of race, politics. Everyone should be afforded the privilege of not being attacked in public for no reason, or for putting out a fire.
Furthermore, they must justify oppression as somehow making sense. Talk to people.
And nobody was trying to justify oppression in that situation at all. This is such a useless part. It has no connection to this at all.
Or look at the news.
Nobody was trying to justify oppression. Kyle wasn't even there counter-protesting Black Lives Matter. So there was no counter to anybody saying anything was oppressed. Nobody was countering that at all.
Any explanation for Rittenhouse getting away with...
No, you don't need an explanation. Again, you need zero explanation for Kyle getting away with killing those people, because we saw it. There's a video. We can watch it from multiple angles, and in every situation, it's self-defense.
Yeah.
We don't need an explanation because the explanation is in the videos. All you have to do is watch the actual event, and that's it. And nobody needs to explain it to you. The fact that the fact that this guy thinks there needs to be an explanation shows you that he's the one who needs to add a backwards fitting explanation to this, because he's the one who needs. Look, he made a 20-minute video to try to tell you that Kyle is guilty and is the white supremacist, which he hasn't shown, or that he murdered people, which he hasn't shown. In no way has he even described that a person should be attacked and they can't defend themselves.
Right.
No, not at all. Like, all he's done is try to justify what he's saying with these backwards things that are barely even connected to God. Yeah, they're totally irrelevant to the situation.
Unaliving people that doesn't involve racism. Well,
no, but
doesn't.
But maybe don't attack people, and then you won't be unalived.
Yeah.
Right? Like, that's what this says, is don't attack people.
Now you know why. But that's...
You know, if Kyle's supposed to be looked at as a white supremacist or a racist of some kind, he must need glasses, because the people that he shot in self-defense, I don't remember seeing any black people shot.
And he didn't shoot them in the middle of them saying, like, Black Lives Matter, or doing any type of protest type stuff. What he shot them for was them attacking him, chasing him down and trying to attack him. Had nothing to do with race, had nothing to do with oppression or privilege or any of these things. It had nothing to do with slavery, had nothing to do with gun rights. Because even if the gun was illegal, he still would have gotten away with self-defense and only been charged with having an illegal gun, not with murder. You know what I'm saying?
It explains why we defend the status quo in a sort of individualistic kind of way.
Because if I have a grenade, whether it's illegal or not, I get in trouble for having a grenade for being illegal. But if I use it to defend myself from somebody attacking me, I'm not going to get in trouble for that. I'm going to get self-defense on that, and then just get in trouble for the illegal possession of that.
But how about the why of said status quo in the first place? You will learn the what is racism, but often not the why is racism.
The status quo of self-defense.
We're going to need to look into our theory books. We're going to need this guy, Carl German Santa. Santa studied
this is where it
the
goes
effect
into
that economic
communism
forces
now,
can
and look
have
how
on
long
history.
he spends
Vital
on
for us
communism.
today,
For
look
what?
at the slavery part and look at the communist part.
A contribution
They're
to the
huge.
critique
Like,
of
look at
political
this.
economy.
Like, the vast majority of
preface
this video
contains
is him
something
talking about
special.
shit that
He
has
outlined
nothing to
his
do
idea
with
called
Kyle Rittenhouse. I'm going to skip through this too,
materialism.
because this
So
is
for us
really
today,
useless.
get
He just
stuff
goes
out of the earth.
on explaining communism versus capitalism for
how
like
our
10
economy
minutes.
is structured, who
Why?
tends
Who
to
knows?
support
It really doesn't fit.
So what does this all have to workers as
Oh, wait,
little
let me see.
as
What does this all
lens.
have to do
You'll
with
notice in a new superstructure based on the modern base comes into form.
It's not going to have anything
So,
to do with it.
what does this all have to do with the American racial caste system? Looking at America through a Santaist lens, you'll notice that you have a group of people who own all the things. You also have a group who sell chunks of their life to get the stuff they need to survive. These owners want as much money for themselves as possible.
What does this have to do with Kyle
paying
again?
these workers as little as they can get away with.
He's like, what does
is
this
the
have
name
to
of the
do?
game.
Let me tell you.
There are
And then
two
he doesn't
ways
tell
the
you what it
racial
have to
caste
do with
system
it.
benefits these guys in the name of that sweet cashish. The first way is that
got
a
money
lower
for being
caste
here.
allows
What?
bosses to exploit marginalized people
Yes,
even
again,
more,
nothing to
whether
do with
through
it.
literal
Again,
slavery
I'm lost.
the
He's way
day
off.
that maintains a hierarchy. Marginalized people make less, and their boss people
Nothing.
can use the fact that the whole
Skip forward,
economy
yeah.
rests on
Cooling tower.
get together in organizations using our power to negotiate with bosses, using strikes as leverage.
Workers of the world, unite. You have nothing to lose but your chains.
But what does this have
The
to
labor
do with Kyle?
movement. Segregated unions.
What part of this says you're
racism
allowed
within
to
the
attack
membership,
again, even in a
and
communist
denying
society?
the
Does that-
extra harsh conditions.
Does he think in a communist society you're allowed to attack somebody for putting out a fire and it's okay? And then nobody would say, well, you know, he's not allowed to defend himself, they would say. Like,
marginalized people are in, all hold them back.
It doesn't make any
That's
sense.
probably a topic, though, for its own video. It's
I
also
think
led to a
he
lot
should've
of
just
tension
made
between
Yeah,
black and
separate
brown
videos.
communities.
Maybe you
and
could have just
any
made a video
white-led
about
movement
communism,
trying to
as
get
opposed
everyone
to
a
putting
better
it, sneaking
deal.
it into
We
a
saw this with the
power
Democratic
house
Party
for some
primaries.
reason.
And not much has changed looking at the racism
Again, this
endemic
has
in the
nothing
white
to do with any of this.
spaces. The defense of racist attacks
Yeah,
by
then he
a
won't say
certain
socialist
white
for some reason.
man-bunned YouTuber against a black YouTuber
What does this have to do
because
with? All right, let's go back to this. It has nothing to do with it.
booyah! We came full circle. I know how to make
What?
a point.
How do we full
Defenders
circle?
of Kyle Rittenhouse
Nah, yeah, there's no point there.
Professor Flowers, by the way.
or the white online defenders of Kyle Rittenhouse.
Yeah, I don't get it. Like, what is the connection? So there's white people defending Kyle Rittenhouse for some reason that has to do with it.
Does he think all the people
Booyah.
defending Kyle
Doesn't make
Rittenhouse
came
are
full
white?
circle.
Because
I
that's
know
No, it's
how
not.
to
I'm
make
not white,
true.
and
You're not
I
white.
defend him. And I'm not even a fan of Kyle Rittenhouse, nor am I a right winger, and I still defend him because it's obvious. It's self-defense.
Yeah.
Like, why wouldn't I? Something that's so
point.
obvious.
This goes all the way back to
It's
Big.
because I'm honest, and this guy's not. He's not honest.
Yeah.
He's totally biased and dishonest, and doesn't understand that he's basically making an argument that you can attack people on the street because they have a different ideology from you. If you're protesting and there's somebody there putting out the fires you're starting, you're allowed to attack that person. They're
Yeah.
not allowed to defend themselves, basically, is what he's saying.
Bacon's Rebellion. One of the
This
things
is a person that if it was reversed, just like that time said, if this was reversed and this was an Antifa BLM guy, he'd be making a video here justifying why that Antifa BLM guy was justified to attack somebody who was putting out a fire.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
like, no, because, you know, he's fighting for the rebellion and the revolution, and then so he's, you know, people shouldn't stop him. It's not, you know, he'd be making all these
didn't
arguments
tell
about
you about the rebellion is that what made it strong
it. Who cares about a rebellion? What does this have to do with rebellion?
was solidarity. Solidarity forged between unfree black workers and white indentured servants on the tobacco fields. But unfortunately,
Nothing to do
the
with
post-rebellion
Weird, right?
reforms intentionally.
It's almost
drove
like
a
he wanted
wedge
to talk
between
about this just
and
to talk
white
about it.
people
Yeah.
And he's
have
like, I don't
been
want to make a
getting
separate
duped
video. I'm already
into this
making this
con
video. So
Now
for
it makes
some
sense
reason.
why he's censoring certain words because he wants to make money off of just this little part over
Yeah.
here. That's all
This
he wants to make money.
decision, more than anything, has created a chilling effect for protesters. Violent
Why?
attacks are more and more typical.
No, they're not. They're actually less typical. And if anything, this situation should show you that it should be less typical to attack somebody. Because if you attack somebody, they can defend themselves and you die. It shows you not to attack people.
Yeah. How is
People
that hard to
protesting
understand?
for black
How is that hard to understand? That it's 100% that situation showed you don't attack people.
Attack people.
Especially if they got guns on them.
Whether
Yeah.
it be these two protesters in Kenosha
Don't
or
reach for
either
the barrel
higher,
of the gun.
and at least 25 people last year.
Yeah,
That
but
was
killed
in the
in but
chat,
killed
so
doesn't really
he's
mean
linking
much.
two
Killed in
different
one way. I like how it says at least 25 Americans were killed during protests and political unrest in the 2020. That was a George Floyd protest. Most of those were caused by left wing.
Yeah.
by
The
the people
peaceful protest.
protesting the BLM stuff.
Yeah.
This decision showed that
He's making it seem like the people are attacking protesters. That's
They're
no,
killing
it's the
themselves in these
protesters
things.
turning
What
into
are you
rioters and
talking
attacking people and looting and destroying
murder
things and
in the
stampeding
name
each
of
other.
attacking left-wing protesters.
That's not what he showed. Murder in the way of attacking left-wing protest. Nobody showed that. What? Where?
Okay, like so many Klansmen and
So then is he saying the BLM riots show that it's protest murder against people on the right is okay?
Yeah.
Murder against cops is okay?
Yeah.
That's what he's saying?
cops before them.
Because what David Dorn was killed, right? He was killed by
I was
protesters,
thinking
right? He was a
that, yeah.
police officer killed by protesters while trying to defend his friend's pawn shop.
Right.
Does that mean you're saying that's okay? The person who did that was never caught, you know? Like, you're saying that's okay?
You can just get away with it.
Yeah.
Protesters
okay,
now
that's
have to
okay.
weigh the possibility of getting shot.
They've always had to weigh that possibility. If they were attacking any protest you're at, if you're dumb, if you thought you had the expectation of attacking someone with a gun, with a visible gun,
Yeah.
and that they weren't going to use it against you, you're
Yeah.
dumb.
You're
dumb.
For standing up. This decision
No,
will
it's not
make
for standing up. It's for attacking someone.
people choose to do more violence.
No,
It's a-
they will choose to do more self-defense, and it'll show the other people not to do violence, and therefore nobody will have less violence. Right?
a product of the American superstructure, an effort to silence those who want to change the racial hierarchy. This is
What
yet
racial
another case
hierarchy?
of terrorism
nobody.
used to
That was
scare
not
black
what
people
happened. So it doesn't
out
matter.
of their deserved rights.
Scare black people. What?
What?
No black
What?
people were shot. What are you talking about? What black people would be scared of speaking up for their rights because of that? It had nothing to do with black people. What?
And
What
silencing
are you talking
people
about?
doesn't make the problem go away.
Oh,
It diminishes peaceful solutions of opposing injustice.
Oh, you want peaceful solutions? Don't attack somebody. No, who was there being violent? Not Kyle.
Yeah.
Kyle was the one there being peaceful.
Yeah.
It was the people attacking him who were being violent. What did Kyle do that wasn't peaceful?
Yeah.
What did he do that wasn't peaceful?
Make it seem like he's
put
like
out a
a-
fire? That's not peaceful.
You know what happened after Kyle did that? He explained he ran back to where the group of people were, sat down and threw up in a garbage can. Like he's not
This
like
is what
itching to get
censorship
back out there.
actually
What?
looks like.
No, and then he says this is what tyranny actually looks like, and you show the gunshot. What would have happened if Kyle didn't shoot Grosskreutz? He would have shot
he
him.
would've
He
shot
admitted
him.
that in trial that he pointed the gun at him before getting shot because he wanted to shoot him. Right?
So they
So is he saying tyranny's on both sides then? This is the part that he doesn't even realize he's contradicting
Yeah.
himself because both sides had guns, right?
Rosenbaum-
Grosskreutz had a gun.
Rosenbaum was trying to wrestle the gun,
Mm-hmm.
grab the gun to try and get it in order to. We can all assume use it on Kyle. If if Rosenbaum got that gun, Kyle would have been shot. If anybody else there got a hold of that gun, they would have tried to use it on him. Is what you can assume would have happened.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah,
Like I just don't understand.
most of that is them just both videos is them just contradicting themselves by not looking at it from both sides. Like he
Yeah.
was saying that the true tyranny comes at the end of a gun, but both sides had guns. Grosskreutz also had a gun, and in fact, it was Grosskreutz that had the legal gun there, and not Kyle, right?
No
Kyle
one
had the
mentions
legal gun. So if Kyle didn't shoot him and he shot and Grosskreutz shot Kyle, would he be saying the same thing? And he'd be like, "Oh, you see, the tyranny came at the end of a gun."
Or
No,
would
he
they
wouldn't.
be explaining away why Kyle?
Oh no, yeah,
got
he'd
shot
be
and
explaining
died?
away
Like,
and saying, "Well, he saved everyone because Kyle was gonna keep shooting people indiscriminately, probably, right?" Like, because the narrative would have been completely different.
yeah.
And it's funny to me because of how this guy doesn't end it like that, but like how the Thought Slime guy ended it with like, "Oh, if this had been reversed, would you feel the same?" I don't think either of them would. I think both of them would be trying to justify the person. Like if Rosenbaum caught Kyle Rittenhouse and took his gun away and shot him, they would be justifying it,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Or if it was the other way around, say he did shoot Rosenbaum and then Grosskreutz caught him, they'd be justifying that, right? They still do.
They still do.
They still do.
And
They're
all the
basically
proof is
making
out
arguments
there.
that Kyle should be able to be attacked, you know,
Yeah.
and he shouldn't be able to defend himself.
No one can understand why you shouldn't be attacking somebody, not just with a rifle, but some 17-year-old
Yeah.
with a rifle. Like,
It makes no
they don't
sense.
understand that part.
It makes no sense. There's no situation to me in there that seems like he should be attacked and not and have self-defense taken away from him.
This is just another Hassan saying Kyle got his legal kill.
Yeah.
Which
like
that's
Hassan
so
saying, Hassan said that too. He got
ridiculous
his
to
legal
say
kill,
that.
which is ridiculous. Of course not. He didn't get no legal kill. Get out of here. That's stupid. Well, it is a legal kill, but he didn't want the legal kill. He was forced into doing a legal kill by people who were making him, who were attacking him. And gave him no choice. He got his legal kill, but he was left with no choice. If he, he didn't have to get that, those people could have not attacked him, and he wouldn't have gotten any kills at all. But all right, those are the 2 videos we wanted to watch. Thanks for watching, guys. Well, we're getting new computers soon, so we'll start streaming more often when we get set up. But this might be the last stream till then. We'll see. We still have like a week or until.